Part 45. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 452. Natalia lived in Violetberg for half a year and was not always spending time. In addition to honing herself and helping Charlotte and other subordinates grow, she spent more time in the library to learn more military and political theory. Ziwei arranged Zero from her vast database to select a large number of political and military theoretical works that are closer to the present era and then handed it to Natalia along with the classics of the Orient continent itself. Natalia naturally likes books in this area. One of her favorite things to do is to sit quietly at the desk in the afternoon sun and read a lot of notes. Now Natalia can say that theoretical experience is extremely rich, and it is more practice. The newborn arcane core is undoubtedly the use of Natalia's practical theory. After showing Natalia and Charlotte the final weapon fighters they had prepared for them, Ziwei once again went to the spiritual dream plane. If it is said that the identity of Master Dai was disguised at the beginning to better understand the inheritance of the soul, then Ziwei has increasingly noticed that this is a fortune. Inheritance of the mind, seemingly primitive and barbaric, but this is undoubtedly a magical school that mainly uses mental power and is different from other magicians. Although it has been used as a taboo school for all kinds of horrible spiritual control and secret murder, this power is not born to be evil. In particular, his disguised master Dai is the most proud disciple of Schiller, who is the master of the spiritual school. In the time when the legendary spellcaster of the spiritual school is absent, Davy is not only the owner of the White Tower, but also the city of White Crow. Half of the ruler. This time, Ziwei's trip to the spiritual dream plane is a spiritual master who wants to understand the dreams of the White Tower, and the composition of the forces in the White Crow city and the entire spiritual dream. He has already penetrated this mysterious magic school. In. Respected Master Davy. A respectable perfect hunter. Just entering the Dream White Tower, the Seven-Ring Soul Magic Master Jacques and the Seventh Order Soul Hunter Manu face his performance more respectful. In particular, Manu, after Ziwei completed the perfect hunting for only a few decades, the experienced Soul Hunter lost his last mistrust and contempt, and fell into a more fanatical mood. The behavior of Ziwei's hunting star behind the spider not only made him successfully promoted to the spiritual master of the spiritual school, but also the prestige in the entire White Tower of the Dream. The spiritual whiteness of Ziwei's body is filled with silvery white light, and the star's star shines. From a certain meaning, it is like a humanoid star spirit beast. In fact, the spiritual master's power promotion system has not been formed since ancient times, but the great white crows cover the sun. Schiller discovered and conquered a large territory of the spiritual dream plane, from the spiritual hunter's promotion path. Learning, this saved the tragic fate of the spiritual school and gave birth to a new life. Before the discovery of the spiritual dream plane, the spiritual school was forced to hide under the attack of the Church of the Glorious Lord, and the promotion of spiritual inheritance did not have a stable system and standards. Everyone was hiding power, even if the same it is between the spiritual masters, only the interests, no friendship. After the master of the mind under the leadership of Schiller of the White Ravens, after the great White Crow city was established in the dark and primitive wilderness of the soul's dream plane, the most tragic dark time finally passed. The spiritual school growth system is established, and the spiritual wizards are free to study and live here, and can gain critical promotion in the manner of glory hunting. The original Davy Master was able to grow from a baby to an 8-ring magic master in just over 60 years, and also benefited from the newly established spiritual school growth system. The current spiritual school has only one legendary caster, Schiller's mentor, and his spiritual body is full of horror nightmare, which is the symbol of being the king of shackles. And White Ravens covering the day Schiller, as the strongest king of the shackles, has become one of the three masters of the spiritual dream plane. The magicians who are as strong as the spiritual school can only occupy the area of the White Crow city and the nearby area. The soul of the dream plane is also active with two more powerful kings of the scorpion. Even the Schiller mentor is the most basic with them. Peace, this piece is entirely based on strength, although the species are different, but they are also in the legendary field, a great rank. The Star Spider Knight, who has the 7th order strength, once again appeared in front of Ziwei. This time she narrowed to the height of a normal person, the upper body was humanoid, with a perfect figure, wearing the beautiful armor created by the Dream White Tower. The lower itself is the standard spider body, but the overall appearance of white jade texture. It doesn't look disgusting, but it has a strange beauty. The Spider Knight, controlled by the soul of the orbit, has become a member of the Dream White Tower. She is the trophy and captive of Ziwei, then Ziwei naturally became her master and master. Respected Devi Master, your guard, Yalta, salutes you. The Spider-Woman Yalta respectfully crouched in front of Ziwei. The origin of this Spider Knight also aroused the curiosity of Ziwei. About 50 years ago, a powerful female soul hunter found the spider's lair and began to launch his own glory hunting. She already has the power of the master class, but in the end it falls in the endless spider army. The star spider merges her soul into the white jade spider egg that she just gave birth, and finally becomes the guard spider. Horsewoman. With the death of the star spider and the powerful role of the spiritual treasure, the knight finally awakened her memory as a female hunter Yalta. Master Devi liberated her from the humiliating fate, naturally it was her the host. The soul hunter is the aboriginal of the mind's dream plane. They have a similar appearance to human beings, and they live against the hunting spirit beast. However, this race has a tragic or heroic fate. While they are hunting spiritual beasts, there will naturally be a large number of losers who become food for the spiritual beasts. As the two great kings of the kings established their own rule in tandem, the soul hunter tribe stepped into the dead end. However, the arrival of Schiller of White Raven saved their tragic fate. Although Schiller conquered the largest spiritual hunter tribe, the number of spiritual wizards was too rare, and they must rely on these spiritual hunters to stand in the soul of dreams. The establishment of the White Crow City gives the soul hunters a new and stable life. They no longer have to sleep in the original caves, and one accidentally will be attacked and swallowed by the spirit beasts. Since the spider female knight has awakened her memory as a soul hunter, then Ziwei can take her loyalty for granted, and the power of the Dream White Tower has once again grown. Ziwei is now a true master of spiritual magic. The pure spirit is also stable and regulated by Jacques. Therefore, it is very safe for him to pretend to be David. Only the last hidden danger is that he will eventually disappear for more than 10 years. The White Ravens, Schiller, the master of the White Crow City, one of the 3 masters of the Soul Dream Plane. But for Ziwei, he is growing at such a rapid rate, even if there is another 3 or 5 years, the legendary caster is not too much trouble for him. Therefore, Ziwei did not hesitate to start exercising the identity of the owner of the Dream White Tower in the identity of Dai. The first step is to check the status quo of the spiritual master in the Dream Tower. The magician who learns to live in the White Tower, including the 2 magic masters, has a total of 137 people, the worst of which is the official magician, because only the official magician can come to the spiritual dream plane. Out of the spirit. In the mind's dream plane, the positions of these magicians can be judged at almost one eye. Those who are dim like ghosts are undoubtedly the weakest junior magicians, slightly stable and have a stable shape. Shiny the brighter is the intermediate magician, while the senior magician shines more dazzling light, and their spiritual body is more stable. The most powerful ones are undoubtedly Davy and Jacques. Their spiritual core has been transformed into a star, which is a symbol of the master. Therefore, when Ziwei appeared in the lower hall of the Dream Tower, all the soul magicians who were called at the same time shouted at Ziwei Gao with respect, "Hello dear tutor." Every psychic mage is almost human, and the dreamy and fascinating bar in the city of Parley is a stronghold of Dai's management, where he teaches the simplest spiritual school heritage and cultivates potential spiritual wizards. Compared with spiritual hunters, these spiritual wizards are the most expensive people in White Crow City. Ziwei's eyes swept through every soul mage in the hall. The person who was caught in the eyes instantly felt that he was staring at a monster that was terrified to the extreme. He could not restrain the shivering and fell into an extremely terrifying in the mood. 135 people, only 8 people withstood this horrible gaze. Although they were equally under pressure, they still kept the brain clear and did not fall into this horrible mood. 11 Wei finally took this horror gaze. He waved his hand gently, and the 8 outstanding magicians took a big step forward. Very good, it seems that you have a more tenacious will. This is the key to our control of spiritual strength and not lost in it. As a leader in the White Tower of Dreams, I will give you new rewards. The voice just fell. These 8 people were instantly overwhelmed by the envious eyes. The strongest of the 8 is undoubtedly Daifu, who has witnessed the Ziwei hunting star spider. However, other people are not all high-level magicians, and there are 2 middle-level magicians and a first-class magician. The rewards given by Ziwei are very rich. There are powerful spiritual secrets, and there are soul beads that can be slowly transformed into mental power. The 5 high-ranking magicians have the opportunity to use the glory hunting flag to complete the glory hunting. Every month in the future, I will test and reward some of you. The Dream Tower only needs the best magician. The words of Ziwei once again made the hearts of all the mind mage hot. Ziwei appropriately opened up the inheritance of the mystery of the soul. This ancient formation rule restricted the growth speed of the spiritual master, so that now there are less than 800 spiritual masters in the entire White Crow City. And this is already almost all the magicians of the whole spiritual school. When Baal established the White Crow City 100 years ago, the spiritual masters at that time were less than 100. At the same time, when Ziwei rewarded 8 spiritual masters with strong will, the secrets of teaching them were conceived and created by themselves. For the spiritual school itself, Ziwei not only accepted the inheritance, but also thought about how to make this inheritance more systematic, easier to pass on, remove those old dross, and develop a new system more in line with the times and origins. These 8 spiritual masters are undoubtedly the experimental objects of Ziwei. Their future is full of risks, and of course there will be more opportunities. At this moment, 11 Wei discovered that Dai was a disciple of Schiller, the White Ravens, and the owner of the White Tower. What a prominent position in the White Crow City. Dai has a dreamy tavern in Wangdupai Li. You can train and recruit the soul mage yourself, or you can send the mind mage to the soul dream plane. In fact, 100 in the Dream White Tower, many spiritual masters, most of them are introduced by Devi from reality. In this way, Ziwei will send a small number of violet students to the Dream of the White Tower to learn. It will be no difficulty, even after the success of the school can also leave the soul of the dream plane in the name of dispatch. Just as Ziwei was immersed in the meditation of the top of the White Tower, suddenly an urgent application appeared. Ziwei just agreed, and Jacques appeared with another young man in a pale robes. Master Davy, the messenger from the capital of the dead, is now in the city of White Crow. The young man in the pale robes shines with a dim star. Apparently he is not far from the master of spiritual magic. The capital of the dead. The dead are all the large cities established by the necronomic sorcerer in the position of the bones. It can be said to be the paradise of all the necromancers. The 2 magic schools of the dead and the soul were also included in the glory of the world by the Church of the Glorious Lord. They were severely hit and had to go underground and even be forced to leave the Orient. However, there are only 1 legendary caster in the different spiritual schools, White Ravens, Schiller, but the necromancers have 3 powerful legendary casters, the oldest and most powerful undead King Bades, and even more. Very likely to be the legendary Third Law. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 453. Because the 2 university factions are in the sequence of the filth of the world, they have a history of mutual help in the long time. The most tragic time of a certain period has been closely cooperated, and it is considered a comrade in arms. However, this close relationship has been discovered with the exploration of the buried bones and the spiritual dream plane. The successive establishment of the capital of the dead and the White Crow City has finally begun to slowly alienate. It has been a long time since the undead master came to the White Crow City. When White Raven's Day Schiller is absent, Davy is one of the highest members of the three-member parliament in White Crow City. This is his authority as the master of the 8 rings of mind and the master of the White Tower. Davy didn't say much. He took the feathered star's staff, put on the spiritual storm star ring, and walked out of the White Tower with a white robe, turning into a white crow, and pointing to the arc of the center of White Crow City. The hall flew away. The arc hall is positioned higher, almost above the clouds, in the most dazzling white light of White Crow City, and is also the center of the white crows hovering around. The white crow of the incarnation of Zyway entered the arc hall and found the position of the three-member parliament, and then reinvented the spirit. The three-member parliament is the decision-making body of the 3 8-ring magic masters in the White Raven City, which is second only to the White Raven's Schiller. The 2 people except Davy are at the same time as Schiller. One of the generations has a very deep Goodak master, and one is a soul hunter from the soul wilderness, and transferred to the spiritual school of Kalster master. At this time, the three-member parliament has all arrived, and the messenger of the dead has also entered the arc hall. The spiritual dream plane can be said to be the home of the spiritual wizards, the most perfect place for their power to appear. The messenger of the dead in front of us is like a real ghost. His spiritual body is dark green and obviously negative, infected by energy. Although it is greatly restricted, his own energy is still strong, which is a decadent energy filled with decaying death, at least the strength of the master. I am the messenger of the dead, Rear, I am coming from the will of the undead King Bades, Lyre gently nodded to the three-member parliament. The Lyall messenger, the necromancer school and the mind school have not had too much communication for nearly 100 years. What happened to you today because of this? Goodak asked. Because the world is about to undergo earth-shaking changes, a new era is coming, Li Erlang said, the light of negative energy on his body also shines, the church of the glorious Lord who oppresses all beings is about to come to the end, all darkness the power in the middle is about to wake up. Does it mean the original contract that is about to end? A year ago, the news was still top secret, and only a very small number of people began preparations and planning. However, now, the biggest secret of the original Orient world has begun to spread. But apparently Goodak and Kalster did not know the mystery of the original contract. In their view, the Church of the Glorious Lord is still more dazzling than the sun, and the words of the messenger of Ryal are not very convinced. What kind of earth-shaking changes? Syway asked. Sky, the earth, the ocean, everything you know, including the entire Orient world, including the multifaceted plane. Lyre's voice became sharp. Not only the main material plane, whether it is buried bone, the land is still a dream of the mind, and there will be significant changes. It may not be obvious now, but after a year, you will notice it. So what is the will of Ryal's messenger, the undead king, bards? Syway continued. In order to fight against the light, the forces of darkness must unite. Under the organization of the great undead King Bades and other top-ranking supremes, a dark parliament against light is about to be established. In this impending darkness in the parliament, there will be a mysterious force and supreme power that is far more powerful than imagined and passed down from ancient times. Lyre's voice carries a hint of fanaticism. Reading in the Necronomic School and the Mind the School has been in friendship for hundreds of years, and His Majesty Bards has left a valuable seat for the White Ravens in the Dark Council 3 months later, in the capital of the dead. The Dark Council will be officially founded. I hope that Sir Schiller will be present at the time. As he spoke, a deep purple invitation floated out of his spiritual body and flew above the Arc Hall. This invitation exudes a dark, deep, and full of horror, belonging to that powerful undead King Bades. Thank you for the messenger of Re'er, thank you for your invitation from Mr. Bades, I will contact Schiller as soon as possible. Very good, my mission is complete, Re'er nodded. So 3 months later, see the dead. Liar's spiritual body slowly dissipated, apparently he had left the mind of the mind. Zai Wei reached out and the dark purple invitation above the sky fell into his hands. Although Schiller has left the White Crow City for more than 10 years, the 3-member parliament has a channel to contact him. It is obvious that such a major event must be notified to Sir Schiller as soon as possible. Zai Wei has seen the Lord of Change, the 5th Law Lord, and the 2 legendary casters in the Royal Academy of Magic and the Palace of Versailles. Therefore, there is not much fear of Schiller in the White Ravens. Moreover, Zai Wei's research on mental power is more in-depth and refined, and it can be more perfectly disguised as Dai. At least today, there is no flaw in front of Gudak and Kalster. The Dark Parliament organized by the Supreme Elite, only the Dark Parliament that is qualified to attend the legendary ranks, it can be said that the forces in the shadow of the whole world of Orient have begun to unite and have been shining under the sky for thousands of years. The suppression of the Church of the Glorious Lord is their tragic history, and the establishment of the Dark Council is the beginning of revenge. In the Ark Hall, the members of the 3-member parliament activated a mark in turn, and the marks of the 3 unique signs lit up the entire Ark Hall. The next moment, a white ghost appeared in the center of the hall. Schiller Instructor. Lord Schiller. Master Schiller, the members of the 3-member parliament quickly and respectfully said to the White Shadow. What happened? This is just an incarnation of the White Crow. Schiller stayed in the White Crow City to convey the incarnation of ideas, he himself does not know where. Zai Wei spoke to tell his mentor about the news brought by the necromancer. Dark Council, Schiller apparently fell into thinking, and the 3-member parliament waited quietly for the response of the owner of White Crow. Yes, in the near future, the entire Orient world will undergo a tremendous change. The glory and order will soon usher in decline. For our spiritual masters, this is also a rare opportunity. I will accepting the invitation of Bades and attending the Dark Council of the capital of the dead. After 80 days, I will return to the White Crow City. The voice just fell, and Schiller's white illusion disappeared. Although the secret behind the original contract was learned from Sufi, the master of music, there is still some illusion about the specific ending time. Will this time be 5 years and 8 years, or even 10 years and 20 years? After all, for the half-god strong, 10 or 20 years is really just a flick. However, the news that the Dark Council is about to be established will undoubtedly give Zai Wei a striking warning. The end of the original contract has entered the final countdown. Maybe 3 years, maybe 1 year, maybe even only a few months. Zai Wei must rush to plant the seeds of arcane civilization before this time, otherwise once the darkness falls, the entire continent of Orient will fall into chaos and killing, and the spread of civilization will become more difficult. At this time, the Yang and Violet College exchange students who had been on the road had arrived in Paris, the capital of the Kingdom of France. They directly entered the Royal Academy of Magic in France and were properly arranged by Ben Shaman. After tossing up everything, Yang rushed to the changing tower before dusk, the magical tower of the great 5th Law Lord of Change Victor Hugo. I am a disciple of Master Sylvester Frost, and the Master of the West has a vital letter that I need to personally send to the Lord of Change, Yang said to the Master of the French Magician Guild. After about half of the magic, the value of the mage responded, "You are very fortunate, the Lord of Change is enjoying dinner now. You can go up." The gate of the changing tower was opened, and the eclipse of the yellow sand and the sun was shining in front of Yang. Before he went to observe the experience, a white light flashed, and he appeared in a restaurant. In front of him, a middle-aged man who seems to be about 50 years old is enjoying dinner, but the sumptuousness of this dinner is far beyond Yang's imagination. Each plate is so huge, as if it were prepared for the giant, with carefully cooked beef, sheep, pork, and a variety of dishes and drinks, enough for hundreds of people to eat. What important letter does Ziwei have for me? The middle-aged swallowed a whole honey small wild boar and then asked Yang. Yang Deep took a breath, and he finally confirmed that the middle-aged man in front of him is the famous master of change. Ziwei instructor is preparing the arcane journal, hoping to get your guidance. Yang will Ziwei the prepared personal letter and the first chapter and 7 texts of arcane were handed over. Victor Hugo took over and did not rush to open. Ziwei was promoted to the master. Yes, just half a month ago, Ziwei's mentor simultaneously completed the elements of element, protection, space, summoning, change, and construction of the 6 university masters at the same time, and was promoted to become a master of magic. Yang respond. Victor Hugo looked at the young black-haired youth in front of him, and Yang immediately felt as if he had been thoroughly seen. I didn't expect him to be really successful, and so fast. Victor Hugo shook his head and opened the letter. Then the Lord of Change is immersed in meditation. Apparently he is completely attracted by the content of this thick letter. This look takes up so much time. For most of the books, the Lord of Change only needs a glimpse of it to be fully aware. Until the sumptuous dinner in front of Yang was completely cooled, Victor Hugo finally finished reading all the articles. It's an incredible young man. Victor shook his head. At this moment, his understanding of Ziwei changed again. If you first invited Ziwei to change the tower to appreciate his outstanding contribution to the popularization of magic, then when he saw Ziwei Frost, he realized that it was a very good young mage, and the accomplishments of the elemental school have been deep enough to make it possible to achieve new legends in the future. But until today, Ziwei was only a potential latecomer for Victor Hugo. However, after watching the first issue of Ziwei's Arcane and 7 articles, Victor finally the wild vision and grand blueprint in Ziwei's mind have a deep understanding. This young man wants to lead the development direction of the whole magic field and make revolutionary changes in the research and inheritance of magic. Arcane, this word is so fascinating. Even the Victor, as a legendary magician, after the reading of the original issue of Arcane, the blood of the heart began to boil. Ziwei instructors hope that you can preface the Arcane journal, and hope that you can recommend several excellent articles published in the original issue of Arcane. Yang said the request. Victor stood up and his burly tall body was full of power. Yang, you are a student of Ziwei. It's a very good young man, even at the Royal Academy of Magic. Yes, Lord of Change, all my knowledge and accumulation of magic, almost all from the teachings of the Westway mentor, Yang proudly replied. Very good. I once gave him a change fruit when I met Master Ziwei. Now I have the same change fruit for you to meet. Victor organized the language. I am against Ziwei. The concept of arcane is very interesting. I will preface the arcane and recommend a groundbreaking excellent article. Thank you very much for your support. Yang finally showed a smile. It seems that this mission was completed very smoothly. Yang took the changing fruit and left the changing tower, and Victor Hugo completely ignored his dinner. He launched the transmission spell and came to the most central level of the changing tower. This is the source of energy in the entire Tower of Change, surrounded by vast expanse of empty space, as if in the astral world. Macro, micro, celestial stars, elementary particles. Obviously, Ziwei has a more systematic thinking than my legendary magician. This is the arcane. The original contract is coming to an end, and the catastrophe is about to come to the world of Orient. Is this a terrible disaster or a new opportunity for magicians and magical civilizations? 7 legendary magicians. There are only 3 people who are still active in human beings. Victor Hugo stood in the reflection of the sky and whispered, I must do what I can, for the development of magical civilization. Make more effort. Ziwei and Arcane are obviously an opportunity. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Du. Chapter 454. The Holy City Vatican is a city of sun rays, a city of glory, a city of holiness. The whole city is spotless, marble buildings and roads are everywhere. It is the land of the sun, and the Church of the Glorious Lord uses 2000. A great city built over a long period of time. The sun here is brighter than other places, and even the sun seems to be closer. The vast majority of the time of the year is clear and clear. The Holy City of Vatican is full of religious buildings of various styles. The sculptures of the glorious Lord, the Son, the Pope, and the saints are scattered throughout the city, bringing a rich and sacred atmosphere to the city. This is the brightest place on the earth, and no one dares to show any dark atmosphere here. The glorious Lord's Church, one of the most powerful forces of Orient, is a giant, and its most powerful power is condensed in the Holy City of Vatican. The Pope is in the Holy City, the Cardinal Assembly, the Holy Knights, the Inquisition, the headquarters of these famous organizations are also here. The devils are retreating, and the evils are not invading. On this day, almost all the great figures of the Church of the Glorious Lord were gathered in St. Peter's Basilica, and St. Peter was the holy name of the advent of the Sun. Pope Benton XVIII Innocent, the 5 legendary cardinals in the Cardinal Assembly, the 4 Knights of the Holy Knights, the 3 giants of the Inquisition. It can be said that the entire glory of the Church of the Lord, the double-digit legendary strongmen gathered here. Pope Benton XVIII announced a decision to determine the future fate. The great Lord is about to leave, and the glory of the Lord will no longer shelter us. Benton's face was stagnant and dignified. For 2000 years, the Church of the Glorious Lord is committed to fighting evil and guarding the world. Now, it's time for these dross and thugs to revel. And the Church of the Glorious Lord, who has suppressed them for more than 2000 years and accumulated the greatest hatred, will inevitably become the first target of all the rats in the darkness. We who have lost the brilliance of the Lord will also fall into an unprecedented weakness. But fortunately, we still have a bright and rich world in our hands, that is, Francon. We spent a full 800 years to open up this plain. Our Odeon Laura Seminary is located in here, the Lord's Son is buried here. Here will be the last remaining light of the coming dark world. This is the last sanctuary of our glorious Lord Church. From today, I will open the sacred passage to Francon under the testimony of you. I will recall the best shepherds scattered around the world. Francon is our last home, carrying our last hope. May the will of the Lord be on the earth, as in the heavens. The evil will eventually retreat, and the brilliance will once again fall into the world. The will of the Lord is on the earth, as in the heavens. Almost everyone in St. Peter's Cathedral prayed in unison, and this decision was made unanimously. This means that the Orient world's first glorious Lord Church, which has been in the world for more than 2000 years, will begin its strategic contraction before the advent of the dark years to preserve the last living force. However, in almost every country in the world, there are cathedrals, nomads, monasteries in every town and even in the country. The main shepherds are scattered in every remote corner of the mainland to spread the glory of the Lord. Even if Pope Benedict XVIII is now convening a sacred retreat, then the vast majority of the glory of the priests will not be able to come to the Holy City of Vatican and enter the final light sanctuary of Francon. In fact, the population of the Franconian plain can be limited. When the Lord of Glory leaves, this plain can still retain the brilliance, but it will drop sharply in both the level and the quantity that can be supplied. If too many Lords of the Glorious Lord enter this plain, it will cause the accelerated consumption and depletion of divine power. In fact, with the advent of the original contract end of Ms Yinyu and the Glorious Lord, not only the shadows in the darkness began to sprout, but the ambitions of the Orient world are also preparing for a more glorious position. The most famous and largest city in the world of Orient is not the Holy City of Vatican, nor the Palais of Paris, but the capital of the Holy Norman Empire, located on the Danube River, under the Mount Abyes. As the royal family of the only empire in the world of Orient, The Albrecht family has a crown from the ancient Alexander the Great, crowned the Great Emperor. Moreover, the Holy Norman Empire merged the Kingdom of Spania by marriage and defeated the Crusade army convened by Pope Benton VII in the 30 Years of War. It became the first power of the entire Orient world. The army of the Holy Norman Empire fought in the sky, on the ocean, on the earth, on the ectopic plane, and in all races and nations, and the national strength of the entire empire continued to rise in this endless war. The Albrecht family inherits the blood of the great destiny warlocks. The emperors of the past dynasties are at least the strongest of the legendary peaks, enough to rule this great empire. The current emperor Albrecht IX awakened the holy mark and entered the great existence above the legend of the domain. However, in the most distinguished and glorious sacred hall of Habsburg, the great Emperor Albrecht IX wore a casual dress and paid tribute to a huge oil painting hanging on the wall. The armored soldier on this painting has the iconic Habsburg chin, the founding emperor of the Holy Norman Empire, Albrecht I. My ancestor, according to the news I just got from Vatican, Pope Benton XVIII announced the sacred Great Retreat and shrank the essence of the entire Glorious Lord Church to Fraunen. I did not expect the Church of the Glorious Lord so decisively gave up the most glorious power and countless interests on the earth, so that they are equal to the exit of the Orient continent, Albrecht IX said to the ancestors of the oil paintings. At this moment, the armored soldier on the oil painting seemed to have suddenly come alive. His upper body floated outside the oil painting like a relief. The shackles on our half-human gods are collapsing, when the original contract ends. At the time when the era of God is coming. In order to seal God, those guys will do everything in their power. Chaos and disaster will surely come to the whole continent. Although I have taken the lead, my descendants, the Church of the Glorious Lord after the sacred launch of the Great Retreat, the behemoth of the Holy Norman Empire will inevitably become the most unsightly presence in the eyes of the ambitious. My ancestor, our Albrecht family never feared the challenge. Albrecht IX straightened his waist and he said with confidence, in this age of God, the army of the Holy Norman Empire will be fearless. Fighting with demons, legends, and gods. We will harvest the faith and deliver it to the ancestors. When you are in the throne, the Holy Norman Empire will become the only earthly kingdom on the continent of Orient. Very good, my younger generation, you are very good, worthy of the blood of Albrecht flowing in the body. The relief on the oil painting showed a satisfied expression. Go, come on, I will guard you, guard the warriors and guard the entire empire. After more than 10 days of travel, Merrill finally saw the most famous mountain in the world, Mount Abyss. The magical holy land of the Thousand Law Tower is located in this snowy mountain. Merrill has an important mission this time, that is, with the letter of the Westway Mentor, to see the great Seventh Law constructing the Empress de Lord Lala. Fortunately, there is Christine's companionship along the way. This time she returned to the Zhai Tower to promote the Master's certificate with the help of the original fire, and promoted the Master of Magic. The Thousand Laws Tower has been on Mount Abyss for thousands of years, so it has long since expanded from the original Master Tower to a city that is almost entirely a magician. The most common building here is the Master Tower. Unlike other high-level magicians, you can build your own Master Tower. Only true magic masters are qualified to have their own Master Tower. However, even with such harsh conditions, there are still more than 300 towers on Mount Abyss, witnessing the glory of this millennium. Kristen's mentor, Marcella, is an 8-ring master of magic. Her master's tower is not far from the Zhifu Tower, only less than 3 kilometers away. Merrill first followed Christine and later arrived at the Master Tower. Christine took her to see her mentor first. You are the best of my disciples, little Christine. At your age, I am just a little 4-ring magician who struggles to enter the paradigm, but you have already stepped into it. The threshold of the Master, Marcella looked like a kind woman, wearing a variety of luxurious and beautiful clothes, and Christine said kindly. Christine faced her own tutor like a little daughter who was spoiled in front of her mother. She printed a kiss on Marcella's face and said proudly, "This proves that your tutor's educational ability is better than yours. The tutor is even higher." Ha ha ha, little Christine is really happy. Marcella's mentor is naturally construction queen Didela. She and Christine kindly chat for a while. This has been noticed standing in the distance, quietly watching their Meryl. "Let me guess, is this your disciple? It has already reached the level of the four-ring magician, and is about to enter the paradigm." "How old are you?" Marcella cordially greeted. "My name is Meryl, I am 15 years old." Faced with this middle-aged woman full of affinity, Meryl was not too nervous. "I can't afford to educate such a strong student." Christine shook her head gently. "She is a disciple of Ziwei, the president of the Violet Academy." "Ziwei? Is that the one you would rather leave me to go to a cheap island?" Marcella looked unhappy. "What, sir, don't talk nonsense." Christine turned blushing, and she quickly pushed the mentor. "Well, I am not talking nonsense. Is the Ziwei master now a few rings? He has advanced to the master of magic, and single-handed combat power. I am afraid it is about to touch the legendary ranks." Christine is the color. "You seem to have told me that this Ziwei is less than 18 years old? It's really a horrible young man. Even in the Tower of the Thousand Laws, I have never seen an 18-year-old magic master for so many years." Marcella sighed, but she soon showed a sly smile. "But this is worthy of our little Christine, much stronger than the last red-haired little bird." "Instructor, Master Ziwei has a girlfriend." Christine quickly transferred the topic. "I am going back this time to attack the master's certificate." This Meryl master shoulders a major mission. She carries the letter was sent by President Ziwei to Didela. "Well, little Christine, then you should go to the Zhai Tower as soon as possible. On the master's card, I can't give you too much guidance, because that may affect your thinking and innovation. I can. The knowledge and mystery that the professor has given you have already been given, and the next road needs your own exploration and research." Marcella sighed. So Christine and Meryl did not stop here, they went directly to the Tower of Zhizi. Christine had a 5-month study time at the Zhai Tower, and this time it was a crucial moment for the promotion master. Within the faculty school, almost every card that embodies the wizard's promotion master needs to use the original fire type, so she naturally obtained the right to enter the high-tech tower. The School of Architecture is an emerging school with only 100 years of inheritance, so there are only 4 masters of magic in the whole school, and Christine, who is only 21 years old, has become the most promising next. The owner of the Zhaiwa Tower, the 7th Law Dizela, also temporarily stopped his magic experiment, and summoned Christine, the shining star of the School of Architecture, in his study. "When you left the Tower of Intelligent Equipment 6 months ago, I expected that you were not far from the magic master, but I didn't expect this time to be so short. Dila is not as noble as her title. Full of intellectual atmosphere, you are better than I thought. I am looking forward to you becoming the 5th magic master of the school." Dr. Dila, the 5th magic master of the School of Architecture, has been born, in Violet, Christine replied with a smile. 11th master? Master of construction, Didula provoked a pair of eyebrows. "Yes, not only that, he also made elements of magic, elements, protection, space, summoning, change, construction, and the 7 masters of the soul." To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 455. This is actually not concealed. When Didala saw 8 articles in the Arcane Journal, he would certainly be aware of this. The number of magic masters in the Orient world has been quite a lot, but the entire master of magic, this is the first in 3,000 years. Such legendary magicians as Farafat, Victor, and Iza, the achievements of any of their spells must also be above the masters, but this is after they have completed the certificate of the master of the major school. After the change, there are some masters of the school still after the legend. Being able to grow from a magic apprentice to a 7-school magician in just over a year, this achievement is truly a smashing, even for the legendary magician, so dazzling. It's incredible. Della shook her head gently. I really want to see this Zyway master. The better is still behind, Christine turned and said to Meryl, who was behind him. Marielle, take the letter from Zyway. Meryl was far less comfortable than Christine in the face of the great legendary magician Construction Queen, but she was the first to take out the carefully preserved letterhead along the way. Della opened the letter, like the fifth law Victor Hugo, and fell into the most focused thinking. The arcane mentioned in the Xavi letter and the 7 articles corresponding to completely different fields are just like the sharpest daggers. They are directly hitting the hearts of 2 legendary magicians. These 7 articles are full of pioneering and innovative. Sex, and logical, can be proved. It is simply to open a new door to the magic world, but to start a whole 7. Now that the development of the magic field has slowed down, the impact of these 7 articles is too shocking, and it can inspire many people. It is foreseeable that the fields covered by these 7 articles are ushered in new developments. With the research results in these fields, a master of magic will emerge, and even may have the honor of the legendary magician. However, the shock of these 7 articles is still not as good as Arcane in the opening message. The ambition of Zyway is vividly reflected. He wants to lead the new era of magic, that is, the Arcane Age. I have to see Zyway once. When the letter was closed, Construction Queen Della finally made a decision. Looking at the reaction of the 7th law, Christine and Meryl have a glorious radiance on their faces. Kristen, how are you prepared for the promotion of the Magic Master? Della asked. I am well prepared and ready to start the final challenge, Christine solemnly responded. Very good, the original fire is now in the air. You can start the challenge of the Master's card at any time. Dixela nodded. When you are promoted, I will go to Violet with you. See the Westway Master. Dixela is more eager to see Zyway than Victor. She chose to take the initiative to leave the Zhai Tower to the Violet. To know how many genius-level magicians have seen the legendary magician for so many years, but there is no chance at all. The legendary magicians are almost always stationed in their mage tower to accept the best magicians in the entire world of Orient. Hajj meeting. You're called Meryl? Very good little girl. Do you like to build a school? Didura turned to Meryl and showed a kind smile. Meryl excitedly couldn't speak, she nodded quickly. Very good. During the time of Christine Challenge Master's card, I will give you a little simple guidance. I hope to help you. Diza took out a green fire and gave it to me. Lil. The high-pitched tower of the scholars stands on the highest foothills of Mount Abis. The lower half of the tower is as pure as the snow-capped mountains. The middle layer is mysterious and noble purple, and the upper layer is the blue color of the sky. This tower is the first mage tower in Mount Abis. The entire Tower of the Thousand Laws is scattered around the Tower of Scholars. The Master of the Boss is the most prestigious magic in the whole of the Orient world. The teacher First Law Tulafat. The first legendary magician in human history has created the long-lasting main magic school of the Protective School, admired by countless magicians. After he was promoted to the legendary magician, he lived for thousands of years, and his strength has long been unfathomable. He is the strongest under the of the whole world. The Boss Tower is the most desirable sacred place for all the Protection School's magicians. As long as you can enter this tower, you will be able to get the most core protection inheritance, and become a powerful magician with a prominent title even across the continent. The lower white tower of the Boss High Tower is for high-level and below magicians. The middle purple tower is the place where the magic masters study, and the highest blue tower is the owner of this tower. A place of special residence. In the last 3 decades, the great First Law Lord has never appeared in the public, but his influence has not been reduced because of this life. Wan Fa Quanchu, this novel that is said to record all the magic of the entire Orient world, is in the hands of the first Faturahath. Some people say that the book's rank has exceeded the legendary magical object. The limits can even be classified as a semi-artifact. The top of the Blue Tower is a dreamy and beautiful star, which is engraved with the stars of the Orient world. It looks like it is in the mysterious starry world at night. Under the stars of the sky, it is a magic source of the pool. The magical energy of the blue has become the most pure source of magic. Each source of magic is enough to supply the consumption of a 7-ring master spell. The source of the magic of this whole pool is not the transfer of Turafat from a certain corner of the world, but the magic of the first law. The magic power in his heart lake has already reached the extreme, and the magical source of the blue color of this pool is the result of the magical overflow from his outside. The outer edge of the magic source is a circular bookshelf that is taller than the sky. The bookshelves around the source of the magic source are packed with books, far more than 1,000 books, 10,000 books, or even 10,000 copies. This is simply the most noble hall of knowledge. Every magician who is fortunate enough to see the scene will pay homage to the books of more than 100,000 books. These books are the crystallization of human wisdom for 3,000 years. For the millennium, one of Trufa's favorite things to do is to lie in the source of magic and enjoy the intimate contact with the most powerful magical energy, and flip through a book to taste. This book of more than 100,000 books, every page he has carefully read, has the value preserved in his library. He is the most powerful magician in human history. He is the supreme who stands on the cloud and overlooks the mortal. For Tulafat, almost no trouble can bother him. How powerful monsters in the entire multidimensional plane, whether it is the Demon King in the Endless Abyss, or the spider behind the Dark Area, or the Elf King of the Yangju Island, or the dragon standing at the top of the food chain, these orient the most powerful existence of the world is nothing but an old goal that has already been surpassed. Apart from the two indescribable gods, Ms. Silvermoon and the Glorious Lord, the entire Orient world has no more for him. Any challenge? Through the pool of magical sources, Tulafat's spiritual power can penetrate the barriers of the plane to understand the mysteries of the entire multidimensional plane and even the depths of the stars. The part of his body that belongs to the mortal is becoming thinner and thinner. The part of the is getting more and more dignified. However, not long ago, when the spirit of Tulafat traveled to the stars, he suddenly came into contact with the inexplicable and powerful mysterious existence. This mysterious existence comes from the outer wall of the Orient universe, just like the glory of the Lord, belongs to the outsiders. After his will passed through the infinite world, he came to the Orient universe. The Lord of Glory is full of the qualities of light and justice. This mysterious being is the embodiment of knowledge and magic. He became the omnipotent weaver of Noyer, just a brief spiritual exchange, and Tulafat learned from him that the new knowledge, magic, and power are completely different from the Orient system. This power is so close to the source, full of creativity and destructiveness, and after a long period of development that does not know how long it has evolved to perfection. This perfect knowledge and power made Tulafat unable to resist the shudder from the soul to the body. This all-round omnipotent weaver, Noyer, is even more mature and powerful than Ms. Yinyu and the Glorious Lord. Ms. Yinyu and the glory of the Lord are not simple true gods. The great existence of the original contract signed by the two is beyond the existence of ordinary gods, even in a cosmic crystal wall. Despite having the deepest alert, Tulafat was unable to reject the temptation of new knowledge and began to learn his magic and power from the enthusiastic all-round omnipotent weaver, Noyer. Turafat can feel that his power is constantly filling up, day by day, and the speed of growth has surpassed any time in his life. This powerful magic makes him gradually unable to extricate himself. My esteemed master, Ms. Dijura and Mr. Anthony are waiting to meet you in the Purple Tower. Eric, the steward of the Bow Scholar High Tower, went to the side of Tulafat to report. Anthony, the legendary caster, proficient in the Protection School and the Summoning School, is the speaker of the ABI's Law Council, the de facto manager of the Thousand Law Tower, and is second only to Turafat and Dijon in the Thousand Law Tower. Pull. Turafat stood up from the source of magic, knowing that there were no very important things, and the two would not come to the blue tower to see themselves. Anthony in a purple magic robe looks the oldest among the three. His hair, eyebrows, and beards have all become white, his forehead is full of wrinkles, and his eyes are wisely radiant. Lord Tulafat, the Church of the Glorious Lord announced the sacred retreat, and the elite forces are about to contract to the Franconian plain. This means that the time for the end of the original contract has entered the final countdown. Tulafat, in the coming chaos year, what plans and arrangements do you have? Didula directly asked. This case has not been open to Tufafat, so the Tower of the Thousand Law has not been unified. Position. Tulafat looks like a very handsome middle-aged man. He has beautiful linen hair and beards, and with a book, he feels more like a nobleman than a magician. Turafat smiled and said, "You are in a hurry, this is really not the case. The world is about to change, but for the magician, knowledge and exploration are still the core theme. No matter what happens to the outside world, for the Tower of the Thousand Law, for you and me, it does not affect the overall situation. The Tower of the Thousand Law stands on this mountain of ABIs, even if those guys believe in the gods, they can't change the thousand. The Tower of the Law is 1 point. Turafat's words were so domineering that Diola and Anthony had not responded. Didala thought about it and finally squeezed a smile. I thought you were going to attack the of magic with faith in this era of godhood. Tulafat smiled calmly. The is certainly a kind of existence that transcends the limits of mortals. However, the immortal way is not only a kind of god. It is an achievement and a shackle. At this moment, Trafant is aggressive and worthy of the great legend of the first law of the Orient world. Turafat's eyes sparkle with dazzling magical energy. He is like a super magic bomb. He is active in stable and unstable magical energy. The magic sparks are extinguished around his body at any time, like a thunder. Dixila looked directly at Tulafat's eyes. The blue color is the purest source of magic in this regard. Tulafat is far ahead of her. I have some new insights into knowledge and magic recently, and I have the opportunity to talk to you. Tulafat moved to a topic he was more interested in. The new sentiment? That's really a bad thing. I am very interested, Anthony responded with a smile on his beard. More pure, closer to the original way of casting, the deeper the study of this power, perhaps without the need to seal the gods, we can always surpass the limits of mortals, achieve the great ranks of immortality. Tulafat stretched with his arms raised, he raised his forehead slightly, and the light in his eyes was brighter. At this moment, Dila saw a little different green amber in his eyes, which is completely different from the power of Orient's existing magic system, so powerful and powerful. It is full of horrible destructive power. It seems to be only a shackle of the spirit. When Diduro looked at it again, the green mangling had disappeared, and the magic of Tulafat was as vast and pure as ever. Dila was silent for a moment, and no longer mentioned Turafat with Arcane and Sci-fi. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 456. Accompanied by the butler Eric, Dixila, and Anthony walked down the Blue Tower. Anthony, I want to take a look at the latest groundbreaking research papers of the magic masters of the thousands of laws. I don't know if you can help me with a few articles. Didura's speaker of the ABI's Law Council, the tower manager made a slightly unexpected request. Since the Master of Magic Masters requires enough groundbreaking research and spell models to get better feedback and a broader road ahead, it is a magician's life before and after being promoted to the Master of Magic. The most creative time, the magicians who only die and learn as spells and porters can only stop outside the threshold of the Magic Master. The Tower of Thousands of Laws now has 2 legendary magicians, but never likes to manage the city of wizards. Anthony showed a kind smile. I think those magicians will be very happy to get your attention and evaluation. Don't know which school research paper you need. All, Didela thought, it doesn't need to be too close to the spells, but it's related to the mystery of the world we live in. the summarization of the rules, and the exploration of basic energy and power. Well, ma'am, please come with me. The Abbey Law Council preserves the pioneering research directions and innovations of all the magic masters in the last 30 years. Just as Dixela and Anthony searched the most suitable papers published in the Journal of Arcane in the library of the Abisfa Parliament, in the Tower of the Zhifu, Christine's Master's Challenge was also going to the most critical moment. At the top of the core layer of the Zhiwu Tower, it stores the core source of strength of the entire architecture school, from the original fire of another universe. This original fire looks like a quaint bronze block with a mysterious pattern. It is floating in the air and spinning, without emitting any light. That's right, the original fire has fallen into dormancy, its energy has decayed to the lowest level, and almost all functions have been deactivated. 100 years ago, when the original fire was in the hands of the newly elected 7th Law, the Emperor Didura, the architecture school was so strong, and countless powerful construction machines carefully constructed by the architects were the original fire gave wisdom and became a smart mechanical life. However, when the original fire is in a dormant state, most of these powerful construction machines can only retain a minimum amount of energy and can no longer operate at full power. However, even the original fire in the dormant state has the most basic effect, that is, to help the architects of the school to verify their ideas and innovations, and complete the master's certificate. After entering the core secret room where the original fire was stored, Christine took out the masters of the Zhiwei Promotion Architecture School. The 2 series of Silver's Spell List and Elemental Steam Engine were created. The light cyan fire of the principle of mechanical construction is close to the original fire. This light blue fire quickly flew to the original fire like a moth, and eventually merged into it. The faint bronze surface of the original fire shines a light blue stream, which illuminates almost all mysterious patterns, and Christine reveals a happy smile during the lighting process. Apparently, the concept of Zhiwei was recognized by the original fire. The more mysterious patterns that the streamer can light up, the more feedback he gets from the original fire. In the end, the light cyan pattern lighted the mysterious pattern of the original fire surface, which is already the best result since Didala. The streamer is dim, and the light blue fire is once again separated from the original fire, but this time the light blue fire surface shines with sparkling and dazzling brilliance, which contains feedback on Zhiwei, the master of magic. After completing this task, Christine began the challenge of being promoted to the Master of Magic. To be precise, the research direction of her master's certificate is not a long-term accumulation of preparation, but an inspiration from the mysterious zero communication between the Smurf plane and the mysterious zero. For the unusually low-key and mysterious existence of Zero, almost everyone around Zhiwei has his own guess. Although Zero is said to have been a magical pet that was summoned from the depths of the stars by the Savior summoning ceremony, when Zhiwei improved the magic summoning spells, almost all the magicians of Violet exchanged with arcane points. The magic pet summons the ceremony and summons the magic pet that belongs to him. However, their magical pets have only primitive intelligence, which is less than the spirituality of the animal itself. It is essentially different from the Zero Protection Professor of Violet. Moreover, the relationship between Zero and Zhiwei is so close that it is simply the shadow of Zhiwei, even closer than Natalia and Zhiwei. Therefore, for Zero, Christine has always had basic respect and appreciation, and this appreciation has reached the maximum extent in the process of studying the elemental steam engine in the Elemental Marine Underground Laboratory. Equipped with almost all of the intelligent machines from the activation and giving of the original fire, without the original fire, the high-end combat power and spells of the construction school cannot be played out. But in the Western spell list, on the other hand, I saw another possibility. Can I develop artificial intelligence without relying on the original fire? In the leisure time after a long and busy day, Christine was lying in a small bed and still concentrating on the study of the brunette girl. Chatted. Zero action stopped. Her existence is the crystallization of the highest wisdom of the world's human beings, called perfect artificial intelligence. Of course it is possible to achieve, but to the extent of this step, there are too many explorations to do. I was wondering if I could make progress in this area. Christine rolled over on the bed, lazily straightening her arms. In this way, my master's card challenge will be unique. Groundbreaking, get enough feedback. In the following period, there was a lot of communication about artificial intelligence between Kristen and Zero. What surprised the silver-haired beauty was that although there were not many words, each sentence was enough to be thought-provoking and always solves Christine. Confused. As time went by, Christine's thinking became clearer and clearer, and the relationship between her and Zero became more and more close. Christine's exploration of artificial intelligence will eventually come true. The first artificial intelligence machine she plans to build will be the automatic casting cleaning machine. Cleaning, a 2-loop spell, cleans up all dirt on the body and clothing surfaces and returns to the perfect state. It can be said that cleaning is a great invention for the magician to improve his life. A cleaning operation is more comfortable than taking a hot bath. However, for those non-magician professions, whether it is a nobleman who needs to cover up the smell with rich perfume, or a traveler who likes to take risks and a warrior who is often sweaty, they need cleaning effect very much. But it is impossible to waste precious spiritual power to use the cleansing spell real. No one will transcribe this scroll. A scroll of a 2-ring spell is worth a few dozen gold. It is a very expensive luxury for ordinary adventurers. Whether it is a magic scroll or a magical object, it requires human use and activation to complete the casting process. However, Christine's idea of automatic casting cleaning machine is entirely in the robot, and it will judge itself. The process of constructing a spell model and casting it. Leaving the activation and giving of the original fire, Christine discovered that even the simplest logical judgment and perception of machinery is so difficult. If it is not Zero, it will give her too much inspiration and help. This exploration will be in the foreseeable future. I am afraid that after a long time and countless failures, it is possible to wipe out the spark of victory. However, now, Christine directly ruled out most of the wrong roads and started his own research and exploration along a correct guiding ideology. Automatic cast cleaning machine only needs a fixed spell model, that is, cleaning, so it is not difficult to inscribe this spell model. The difficulty is how to find a substitute for mental power to activate the spell model. In this respect, the construction of the Empress Didella has a very valuable pioneering achievement, and Christine can use it as long as it is used. Casting requires not only a spell model, but also magic. This was a huge problem, but Ziwei and Zero gave her a perfect gift. A simplified version of the ether core built on the fighter's armor, the miniature elemental furnace, perfectly provides the magic needed to cast spells. So next to the original fire, Christine took the first step to artificial intelligence and began the development of automatic casting cleaning machine. In the large library of the Abisfa Parliament, Diza looked at the research papers of almost all magic masters in the past 30 years. To her disappointment and irritability, these papers are almost entirely close to the spell itself. They are very thorough and skillful in the improvement and innovation of magic, but for the world itself, it is almost a slap on the rules and mysteries, never going deep. Explore. Although these research papers are very good at first glance, any publicity can make most of the magicians happy, but compared with the 7 Olympics papers of Sivan, it is completely 2 levels of value. After finally reading through a total of 752 papers, Dixela found 5 more suitable research papers from the wisdom of the young elite wizards who gathered the entire Kinfa Tower. When Diza took the 5 papers out of the big library, Anthony's face showed some surprised expression. The 5 research papers, the borrowing rate is almost the bottom of the entire library. Dixela said indifferently, sometimes, the magician is too concerned about the magic itself, but they forget the essence of magic, not the use of spells, not the subtle improvement of spellcasting skills, but the world, right exploration and research of power itself. Anthony nodded. MS, this paper, I should be able to find out a few more. In fact, 15 years ago, I personally had an exploration paper on the history of the world of Orient through geological analysis, but unfortunately not big. Hey, I am very interested in this, Didura finally smiled. Anthony Speaker, I am looking forward to your paper. At the same time, almost the same thing was happening at the Royal Academy of Magic in Parle. Lord Victor Hugo, the fifth method of change, who has been living in the country for many years, went deep into the library and exchanged ideas with professors from various universities to screen their research results. I hope that I can select a few articles. Valuable magic papers. In fact, the 7 papers of Ziwei are like templates, which gave the 2 great legendary magicians of the 5th and 7th methods very big touches, but also brought them higher standards. When they used this standard to rigorously screen magic papers that matched the award of the inaugural issue of Arcane, it was really difficult. In the end, Victor Hugo launched almost the entire Royal French Academy of Magic, and only selected 4 valuable papers, and these papers were secondarily created and organized by their publishers. The Dixila harvest in the 1005 Tower is slightly larger. The Anthony's historical exploration paper is very interesting. The other 6 papers have also been found by Didula, asking them to re-edit and create according to a unified template and process. These magicians, whether it is the Royal Academy of Magical Academy or the Tower of the Thousand Laws, are ecstatic. This is the request of the great legendary magician is a rare opportunity to reach the legendary lord. They are energetic, sleepless, and forgetful. In the shortest possible time, all the ideas and arguments on the subject of the thesis are written according to the template of the thesis. Most of them are more mature than the original paper with the changes of the times and the passage of time. In the Tower of Change, Victor put together 7 papers from Ziwei and 4 papers from the Royal Academy of Magic. He stood up irritably, although this is the wisdom of the entire magic school, but the paper with Ziwei there are still obvious gaps. Of course, this is not the whole Royal Academy of Magic than the one in the West. Victor is finally aware through the contrast. For many years, the magicians have been fascinated by the magic itself. The exploration of the world is too little and too little. And Arcane is like a clear stream, born in time, came into being, will inevitably break the limitations of the old magic system, and create a brilliant era of magicians. In order to personally promote the arrival of this era, in order to add an important weight to the Arcane Journal, 5th Law Victor Hugo sat down, in addition to the preface of the Arcane Journal, he also submit your own manuscript and publish a magical essay, The Origin of Species, the essential exploration of the School of Change. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 457. Christine's automatic cleaning intelligent machine development work has entered the final end, the core of the casting process and the magic supply has been balanced, just do the final shape set W law. This is a very simple matter for a construction wizard who has just entered the middle stage, but Christine still puts a lot of patience with great interest in this work. She is using machinery to complete the shaping of a human form. This image has been lingering in her heart for a long time. This time, she finally appeared in reality with her best-selling spells. A delicate humanoid machine, the material of the exterior has been processed by the magic of the structure, full of bright silver luster, as if giving it a new life. Next, let's test the effect of this machine. Christine looked around and grabbed a small can of oily and dirty, and threw it in front of the humanoid machine. The eyes of the humanoid machine instantly illuminate the blue light, his left hand is lifted smoothly, and a white cleaning spell is aimed at the small can. All the oil was washed out in an instant, and the small cans returned to the cleanest and tidy state. It seemed to be scared. Even the rollover escaped the control of this humanoid machine and hid behind Christine. Christine's eyes are all crooked into a crescent shape, a perfect target judgment and casting process, and it can be said that his design has been perfectly realized. Although automatic cleaning of smart machines can only be used for life, it does not seem to be of much use, but it is far from the artificial intelligence closest to smart machinery, given the original fire, and has great potential for development. After making minor adjustments to the automatic cleaning of the smart machine, after optimizing the whole process, Christine put the design drawings and models of the entire construction machine into the fire, and then took the orange-red fire to the original fire. Christine looked forward to the original fire, and the highest level of artifact-level creation in the Struck school would determine the success or failure of her master's challenge. The original fire automatically absorbs the nearby fire, and then under Christine's nervous gaze, the orange-red light lights up the layer of bronze. What surprised Christine was that the bronze pattern on the surface of the original fire was soon over the first one, which meant that Christine would be a suspenseful achievement for a seven-ring magician. This is completely different from the artificial intelligence given by the original fire. This is the new creation created by Christine under the guidance of the most perfect human wisdom of the 35th century AD. It is highly recognized by the original fire, and the bronze pattern. It's been the fifth face that has been slowly dimmed. The original fire has been spinning at a slow speed during this process. In a short period of time, it has been continuously constructed by Ziwei and Kristen. The original fire seems to have a sign that it wants to activate from sleep. A complete professional system must be able to support a career from zero to the legendary level, and each step cannot be a miracle. It must be that others can continue along the path of their predecessors. The rise of the fiction school relies to a large extent on the original fire, a great creation from another universe, which can give mechanical intelligence and power, greatly strengthening the ability of the mage. If the original fire is a magic things, then its level must exceed the legendary level. However, since the original fire has been dormant, the development of the construction school has inevitably slowed down, and the architects can no longer control the powerful construction machinery to achieve a miraculous project. From that day on, how to activate the original fire again became the most important thing for Didela and the School of Architecture. After many experiments, it was found that only by incorporating a new mechanically created fire into the original fire, it was able to inject fresh energy and power into the original fire and slowly activate it from dormancy. The innovative research results of Ziwei and Christine's two masters of magic have obviously accelerated this process, which can be said to have made a great contribution to the construction school itself. Eventually, the orange-red fire was finally separated from the original fire. With the feedback from the original fire, Christine took a deep breath and put the orange-red fire on his eyebrows. The orange-red light has its essence. The middle of the eyes of the silver-haired beauty. Her whole body was suspended in the air, shrouded in orange-red light. This is a very precious layer of original fire, and it provides Christine with an automatic cleaning intelligent machine that is full of creativity and unlimited future possibilities. The award of the construction machinery. Christine's soul level suddenly jumped up, like a soul out, with a feeling of extreme excitement straight into the sky, after a long journey, finally landed smoothly, and jumped to a higher level than before. This level of soul orbit can already correspond to the 8-ring magic masters and ordinary legendary strong, far beyond the feedback of the normal master's card, is a perfect award. Christine directly promoted the master of magic at this moment. Not only that, but also a lot of valuable constructing knowledge from the original fire poured into her mind. The small canned probe circulates around the owner and turns around the circle. It doesn't quite understand what kind of changes are happening in the owner. Christine suddenly opened her eyes, her right hand was aimed at the small can, and an orange-red metal streamer directly into the small can, which is the final gift of the original fire, the closest to the intelligent machine of the wizard. Give it. Small cans originally belonged to a simple and intelligent machine, which was too shabby for a high-ranking magician, but since the original fire has been dormant, even the lowest level of fire has been given a luxury. However, in the gift of this master's certificate, the small cans directly crossed the medium intelligence, and reached the height of the high intelligence of the many masters. This means that as long as the canned food is absorbed from the original fire, it can become a very powerful intelligent machine. It will no longer be a simple mechanical pet. With high intelligence, he will naturally gain personality in the construction school. The interior also has a lofty position. Christine collected the small cans. This time, the master's card promotion is perfect. From today, she is a 21-year-old master of magical makeup. Even the genius of the Thousand Law Tower is very rare. But Christine has enough self-knowledge. She knows that the core idea of this creation is almost entirely from mysterious zero. Otherwise, it is only possible to have at least 10 years of exploration and countless failures to succeed. Thinking about Ziwei, who is 4 years younger than himself but has already achieved 7 masters of magic, Christine finally showed a bright smile. Perhaps 1,000 years of evil curse that lingered on the Philip family women will end up on your own body. When Christine stepped out of the core chamber of the original fire, the entire tower of intelligent weapons was more lively than she had seen at any time before. The 4 magical masters, including their own mentor, Marcella, gathered in the tower of intelligent equipment, and the atmosphere was full of joy and joy. Along with a white light transmission, the Emperor of the Embassy Didura appeared. Her face was filled with a big smile, and her arms stretched out to hold her face in the arms. Congratulations on you. The 6th Magic Master of the School of Decoration. For 30 years, the development of the School of Construction has almost come to a standstill since the original fire was dormant, but you and Ziwei have changed all of this, and the hope of the original fire is activated again. It is getting bigger. The 4 Pact Magic Masters also applauded and cheered for Christine's achievements. Christine should be able to build his mage tower in the 1000 French tower. She now has this qualification. Dixela's first disciple, the most aged master of magic, Welch said with a smile. Sorry, my tutor, Didela, I don't think I will stay in the Tower of the 1000 Laws. I am a member of Violet. I will continue to teach at the Violet Academy. Christine took a deep breath. Inform all of the people present at the decision. She knows that this decision may disappoint the mentor Marcella, but presumably several other magic masters will not object. Leaving the 1000 towers will not occupy their already scarce resources, but do not know Dicela. Will you agree? Your future is up to you, Master Christine. Dila patted her on the shoulder. I will go with you to Violet Island and see the 5th magic master of the school. Ziwei on Violet Island did not know everything that happened in the 1000 Law Tower and the Royal School of Magic. He and Zero were completing the final preparations for the journal in a tense and orderly manner. It's not just an academic journal, it's a kind of fire that carries Ziwei's ambitions and dreams. It will light the darkness of the excellent magicians and guide them to a more rugged but promising road. The road is called the Journey of the Arctician. When the inaugural issue is issued, the corresponding arcane system must be established as soon as possible. This will be the original team of the future Arcane Empire in the plan, and it is not to be vague. Ziwei has already begun an attempt at the arcane point in the Violet Academy, which will be the standard virtual currency for the future circulation of the Arcane Empire, but on top of this, there must be a set of evaluations of the arcane level system. As a new magical career, the arcane master must have his own level, but the rating different from the magician is almost completely linked to the spell level that can be applied. The future level of the arcane master and his understanding of the arcane itself. It is related to mastery, and it is related to his contribution to the theory of arcanism. The level of the arcane division in the Ziwei plan will start from 1 star to 9 stars, and above it will be the arcanist. Every arcanist must make a very outstanding contribution to the arcane civilization, and profoundly affect the development of the arcane civilization to finally get this highest honor, which is no less difficult than the current legendary magician. Of course, when the journal has just begun to publish, the idea of arcane can't be deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. The ability of the Arcanist system to attract people is not so great, so Zaiwei has to work hard in some other aspects. The first choice for Zaiwei and Zero is to make the arcane badge. Zaiwei and Zero have unique advantages for making magical objects. Although they are not necessarily more than a real magical artifact master in a single magical object, they can be perfectly replicated in batch-size manufacturing. The arcane badge, which represents the level of the arcane master's star and the contribution to the arcane, must be both aesthetic and practical, which is a daunting challenge. The first arcane badges will be awarded to the magicians who have published articles on the inaugural issue, and they will receive a lot of rewarding arcane points, which is an out-of-print brilliant achievement. Since the arcane division level and the stars are equated, the design of the arcane badge must be closely linked to the stars at this point. Zaiwei still has a unique advantage, and most of the magicians who look at the fake stars of the Orient world are different. Zaiwei has not only seen the real astral world, but also used it as a star explorer to travel the stars in the sea for millions of light years. Therefore, in the design of Zaiwei and Zero, from the 1-star arcane division to the big arcane master, the 10-level arcane badges have the perfect shape that can be said to be exquisite to the extreme, and people can't help but admire at first sight. These shapes naturally come from the most beautiful stars, constellations, and nebulae in the memory of Zaiwei. After the appearance problem is solved, the practical value must be considered. Badges. This kind of props are often made into magical objects by magicians. The badges that do not contain any magic effects are used as jokes by the magicians. Therefore, the arcane badges must have practical, unique, and novel values, otherwise they will not. The magicians who were awarded were cherished. Zaiwei himself is already a master of the 7-line magic, and he has a lot of experience in the production of magical objects, but this is still difficult for him. Because unlike a single school of magician, the arcane system will cover almost all casters, which means that Wester must add spell effects to almost all casters in the arcane badge. After a long time in the sky, Zaiwei thought about his understanding and definition of the Arcanist, and finally decided the attachment effect of the arcane badge. Soul, spirit, heart, lake, body, the 4 major areas of the Arcanist. There is only one that cannot be circumvented by any caster or even any professional, that is, the soul. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 458. After an endless meditation trial, Zaiwei's own soul was refined into a starry fantasy diamond in the endless river of sorrow. After that, he led Yang, Meryl, and Natalia to complete the soul. Level WW Law. This reusable experiment has accumulated a lot of experience for Zaiwei. Now, without the help of the endless river that needs to sacrifice the flesh and blood of the strong and even the soul, Zaiwei can also build a kind of weak effect, but safety can also improve a lot of soul trials. The Ocean of Stars. 11 Wei knew almost all the main inheritances of the magic school, but no one school has publicly taught and formed norms for the rise of the soul level and the sublimation of the soul. After all, the soul is too core, and most people's souls are fragile. A slight loss will cause irreparable damage. The soul is not easy to reach. Most of the magicians are only in contact with the magical and spiritual powers. They can't effectively exercise their own souls. This requires hope for perfect control. Most of the magicians can improve their mental and soul levels when they are promoted at a critical level. This improvement is passive and unpredictable. However, Zaiwei draws on the ocean of stars built by the endless river, but it is the first in the history of the Orient world that can be carried on the magical objects, publicly taught, and has sufficient security for the soul and soul. The strange existence of training. In the construction of the Ocean of Stars, Zaiwei draws on a large number of the deepest secrets of the soul. After all, the spiritual power is the bridge connecting the soul and the magic, and the spiritual masters are closer to the mystery of the soul. Although necromancers' research on the soul may be more in-depth, Ziwei's understanding of the necronomic school and negative energy is too small, so it is temporarily impossible to draw on the research results of the necronomic school. Although the stars and oceans seem beautiful and magnificent, they can only understand the horror and boring of Xingai. Roaming Xingai is almost a torture of soul horror. Most people in the 35th century AD rarely choose to roam in the Xingai for a long time. Even if they have to do so, they will choose to go into the nutrition warehouse to sleep. Therefore, the number of large explorers like Ziwei is very rare. Many explorers are crazy at the beginning of their careers. Many people cannot recover after many cures. In fact, this is itself a kind of tempering of the soul. The soul of Ziwei can carry the supernova explosion and even the consumption of the wall through the universe. His soul is far more tough than normal human beings. The sea of stars built by Ziwei in the Arcane Badge is an illusion of simulating interstellar travel and adventure. In this process, the simplified use of the Styx shock is added, which reduces the damage that the soul will suffer. Gradually train the archons in the process, so that they can be effectively promoted from the soul source or the soul level. The sea of stars built by Ziwei at this stage can be trained from ordinary people until the 5th level of soul transition, which is the level that most magic masters have just arrived. The sublimation of the soul is even more than the lack of magical masters. The ocean of stars itself is the attempt of Ziwei to train the core of the arcane spirits. It is enough to really shock everyone. To create an arcane badge that is enough to carry the ocean of stars, Ziwei must rely on the vast amount of rare raw materials produced by the mind's dream plane. Fortunately, he has the camouflage identity of Master Dai, the master of the Dream White Tower, so that it can support such a consumption. In the end, Ziwei produced the first batch of 20 arcane division badges, each of which is only the value of the material far exceeds 100,000 gold. If you calculate the magical fantasy of the Sea of Stars, the value of the soul, then its value it is even more difficult to calculate with gold coins. These 20 arcane badges have not yet been activated. Each of the arcane badges has a soul link with the corresponding arcane master. The technical support for the soul link comes from Zero, which is completely different from the system of the Orient world. But it is even closer. In this way, the arcane badge will be completely bound to the arcane's own soul, unable to fall, not lost, and even less likely to be bought and sold. When Ziwei took an Olympic badge in his hand and listened to it carefully, Lin Dengxing, the manager of the arcane garden, rang the wooden door of the principal's room. Ziwei principal, your carefully cultivated violet flower blooms. Linden still lingers on the magical traces. Obviously he just used the improved version of the Blast 2 ring spell Swift Blast. Just recently, the winners of the Violet Academy, such as Fa-Wei, Linden, and Nightingale, have been promoted to the second ring magician and started sprinting towards the mid-level magician. Ziwei suddenly stood up and took Lindeng's 2 white lights to flash, and it appeared in the Arcane Garden. The Arcane Garden is one of the 7 beautiful sights of the Violet recognized by the students at the Violet Forum. Of course, the first is the fantastic Violet Castle. The Arcane Garden is planted with a large number of magical creatures cultivated in the laboratory. These experiments are almost dominated by Zero. The magical civilization and the former biotechnology are perfectly combined. The super high-yield crop of Chengguangmai is the biological laboratory. The perfect plant that has been cultivated. The Orient world itself does not have violet orchids. The violets cultivated by Ziwei are not simply ornamental plants, but a magic flower, a flower of elements, a flower of spirit, and have a huge increase in the magic and spiritual power of the magician. The value of the cultivation of violets can be said to be full of ups and downs, and it is also the largest number of experimental failures since Ziwei came to the Orient world, until he purchased a magical plant from the Royal Academy of Magic and a dream land from the Soul of the Blue Sky. After getting another sable flower with a magical charm, the experiment finally broke through. Linden has been doing his duty as a manager of the Arcane Garden. He is also an assistant to the biological laboratory. He himself likes all kinds of plants. This job is a hobby and interest to him, so he progresses very fast. Originally behind the magic apprenticeship, he turned to the second ring magician and surpassed Faraway and Nightingale, Lista, and others, becoming the most promising next promotion to the three-ring magician. Violet flowers were cultivated by means of hybridization and finally stabilized after 8 consecutive generations. This was transferred from the laboratory to the Arcane Garden for large-scale cultivation. Ziwei accurately transmitted to the area where the violet flower was planted in the Arcane Garden. The purple-red plants have grown a deep purple flower, the vitality of life is blooming, and the fragrance of the magic is rich to the extreme. There is a seductive atmosphere in the air that is fascinating for the magician. Violet flowers have finally been successfully cultivated. Violet flower will be a kind of plant that the magician dreams of. It can absorb the 4 elements of the fire and feng shui in the process of growth, and simulate the heart lake to transform these elements into original magic, and these primitive magic can be used. The magicians absorb and transform, greatly increasing their own magic growth rate. Not only that, but after blending the scented flowers from the mind's dream plane, the magic potion made with the violet flower can also create a dreamy atmosphere that is addictive. As long as you can stay awake in this dreamy atmosphere, it is enough to hone the spirit of oneself. As long as the violet flower can be planted in a large area, the violet medicine can help the arcane masters to accumulate more in terms of mental strength and magic, which means that the growth system of the arcane master will be more mature. 11 Wei suddenly noticed a solid piece of soil in the corner, which is a trace of a person's body. Linden, are you sleeping here? Ziwei saw the bloodshot eyes of Linden's eyes. This is an external manifestation of not having a good rest for a long time. It is a sin for a magician who needs to grow magic through meditation. Linden scratching his head, he did not try to argue. In fact, there is now a strong sleepy use of his mind. He has almost no eyes for 3 days and 3 nights. Go to rest. Ziwei did not blame Linden. When the first batch of violet medicine is made, I will give you a few rewards. Thank you, President Ziwei. Linden showed a smirk and quickly left the arcane garden. Ziwei shook his head and returned to the violet castle with the picked violet flowers. Ziwei tutor, you are back, the queen of Naga in the deep sea country, the third apostle of Ziwei, Flea, greeted with a surprised smile. As Ziwei established the first practice base of the Violet Academy in the deep sea plain, Freya directly launched the Duke of Farina and Marshal Felizel, and began to guide the major cities in the whole deep sea country under the guidance of Zero. Establish infrastructure with a place that is suitable for practice. Ziwei has once again entered the deep sea plain several times. His job is to establish a transmission array of several major sea areas in the deep sea plain with 12 third-order void inscriptions. Ziwei has analyzed and realized the 5th one. His space spells have become more and more intensive and have been very close to the 8-ring space magic master. The king of the Naga kingdom, Sagnar, and the Star City, the Morid City in the western seas, the eastern cold ice and the southern Red Sea, have established a space transmission matrix, and Freya's entire Naga kingdom, the degree of control has also increased again. Marshal Felizel and Duke Farina have also pretended to be humans into Violet Island during this period. After learning the composition of the multidimensional plane, they are like frogs jumping out of the bottom of the well. For this cooperation with the Violet Academy, they are also very supportive. In the Sagarnal, the Duke of Farina built a school of magic belonging to the Naga priests and mages in the way of the Violet Academy. It will also be a place for the magicians who practice in the deep sea. The students of the Violet Academy have also begun to understand the plan. Almost all the students are praises, and they agree with this practice base. The first batch of Violet magicians who went to the deep sea to assist the Naga in communication and construction secretly released the exotic charm of the deep sea in the Violet Forum, attracting the attention of countless people and becoming the first Violet Forum. A hot post. These beautiful photos are naturally the masterpiece of Charlotte, the president of the Violet Photography Association. It was a great regret that she could not go to the deep sea plane. This time, it is natural to make up for it. The poster is naturally the forum administrator Fa Wei. He gave up the exchange program to Wang Dupali, and there are also a lot of reasons for the construction of the deep sea plane practice base. Whether it is the world of the sea, or the magnificent dream of the funeral sea, or the cold and cold of the cold and cold, or the lush vitality of the hot Red Sea, and the spectacular and sacred of Sagnar, these beautiful scenery are caused to the students of Violet. A huge spiritual impact, countless people apply to become the first to enter the deep sea level practice base. Only the specific standards are coming out soon. There is a red line, which must be a formal magician. Magic apprentices are forbidden. And the second ring magician has priority qualifications, which makes many magic apprentices feel extremely sorry, but also began to study hard and grow. Every magician who goes to the deep sea plane to learn and practice will receive a gift that is a magic ring engraved with water-breathing spells, which will also be the majority of Violet Academy. The first magical thing in life that students get. Soon, the first batch of 30 deep sea practice bases was officially shown in the Violet Forum. In the case of almost all students enrolled, it was basically the best of the Violet Academy. Student President Esmeralda, talented wizard Fraser, Fool Tom, and others are impressively listed. Fool Tom is also the inspirational legend of Violet College. The original IQ is like a bit of a problem. He was almost the most stupid in the beginning, but soon surpassed one after another, and was promoted in advance. A formal magician has now moved toward the second ring magician. The expedition to the deep sea is a fashionable and novel thing for the students of Violet. However, for Ziwei, this step is enough, and then the safety of the students is given to Felicel, and Farina is the left arm of the Queen of Naga. To this end, Ziwei also presented a gift for 2 people and 1 person, and gave Marshal Felzel the 80 machine's super sharp sea-eroded metal blades that could be attached to her blade. The Duke of Lina is a 4-element element of the heart of the lake and the complete elemental OI-72 speaking and the magical classroom element series, which is also the sign that Ziwei accepts Farina, the master of Naga magic, into the Violet system. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 459. The bedroom of the front Emperor Dixila is in the Tower of Zhizi, but since the establishment of this legendary tower has never had a second person to enter, and Christine became the first guest here. To the surprise of Christine, the main color of the bedroom is actually the pink of the girl's heart, which is very different from the 7th law of her mature and full of intellectual charm. Sit down, Christine. Diza seemed to have removed a layer of camouflage in her bedroom. The whole person became more relaxed and happy. Is it strange? I used to be the most famous of the 1,000 law towers. Naughty. Christine grinned and grinned, and the naughty Dilla was really a unique image that was unimaginable. I was carefree at the time. For me, studying magic itself is a pleasure. I am smarter than most people around me. I was already a 4-ring magician when I was 13, Dilla sat the bedside, smiled and looked at the endless snow-capped mountains in the distance. The eyes were full of nostalgic colors, so for the people around me, I have seen them as idiots, often making some strange medicines, strange things, such as putting one the most obsessed magic history of the lecturer, the whole body's hairs have faded cleansing chemicals, and a serious library watcher laughs for a week of laughter gas. Christine looked at the 7th law lord in front of her eyes, but I didn't expect you to be like this when you were young. Dixila laughed herself, so I haven't reached the age of 15, and I have become the most horrible person in the entire Tower of the 1,000 Laws. Except my mentor, almost everyone is hiding from me. My tutor appreciates my talent, has given me the greatest room for growth, but it is also helpless for my self-willedness. Until the age of 18, I met Descartes, a stupid second-line young mage. Christine didn't expect to hear such awesome news today. First, after the Black History, it was romance, and Daedalus was really looking at himself. However, for the legendary Lord's love, of course, she still can't suppress the strong gossip, and listen to it with great interest. The next story is not as romantic as imagined. Descartes is a magician who is completely intoxicated in the magical world and who majored in the elementary school of the ancient school of inheritance. He didn't swear at all about his feelings, but because of his trust in Daedalus, who was already a high-level magician at the time, he almost unconditionally accompanied Daedalus to complete all sorts of weird magic experiments. The most famous naughty ghost of the entire Thousand Family Tower is also the most shining genius girl who likes a low-level wizard with a talented and flattering road. This episode, which only appears in a 3-stream love story, is staged. It's a pity that the relationship between the two people only stopped here. When Descartes left the Tower of the Thousand Laws to build its own mage tower, when Daedalus made a famous construction queen, everything was transformed into the past. Cloud smoke. However, such a dull love story makes Christine feel guilty, because the magicians are mostly alone. On the one hand, the magician spends almost all his time and energy on magic research, and has little time to exchange feelings. As the professional level continues to advance, the lifespan is also prolonged. In the end, it is even completely different species, and the hot feelings cannot withstand the long time of cooling and burning. At the end of the hearing, Christine finally couldn't help but ask, what about the Descartes master? She naturally knows that Descartes in the Dixie Mouth is naturally the last master of the elemental magic book of Sci-fi. 100 years ago, he thought he had discovered the legendary elemental plane, and then he never appeared again. Daedalus shook his head. Many magicians in the past 100 years think that the Orient world has pure elements. The gathering of the elemental planes is enough to breed the vast magic of the whole world. However, the existence and location of the elemental planes has always been a fog. Cartesal has a very deep research and unique insights into the elemental school. He is a person who has the potential of a legendary magician. In the words of Xavi, it is a person with an arcane spirit. Daedalus felt tau, if it is not that he has disappeared for 100 years, it is likely to have become the legendary magician of the elemental school. And I, because of the chance to get the original fire, otherwise my character is likely to stop at the magic master. At most, it's just a legendary caster. Christine naturally does not agree with Daedalus' self-improvement. The original fire had had 5 masters before Daedalus, and many of them had strong names in the history that had been active since the Holy Calendar. Why is it only in front of them? The lady eventually created the School of Architecture and achieved the title of the legendary magician. Since the original fire has been silenced, including me, almost the main energy of the entire construction school has been used to reactivate the original fire. The development and progress of the school has almost stagnated, and there has been no innovative research for a long time. Daedalus took Christine's hand. Your master's card reminds me that the original fire is the foundation of the school of construction, but our construction mage can't rely entirely on the original fire. Christine, this time promotion is very important to the school of construction. Thank you for your compliment. Christine showed a sweet smile. I want to start today. You can call me a mentor. Daedalus also responded with a smile. Really? Christine surprised and looked forward. She asked in disbelief. Of course, you and Marcella can still use the original title. After all, you have been together for more than 10 years, and Marcella has already seen you as her daughter. Daedalus instructor, Christine's eyes have crystal clear tears across. This is the tears of joy. Her mother, born at the age of 28, died at the age of 32 at the family curse. It can be said that most of her life was spent in the Thousand Family Tower, which is already her second home. In the process of getting along with her for more than 10 years, Marcella has long been a teacher and mother. The relationship between the two is far beyond the boundaries of ordinary teachers and students. The magician's feelings are like the morning dew, beautiful and fragile, and the blink of an eye may disappear. Della gave Christine a message: "Girl, you are now the most beautiful youth in life in the years, you must enjoy the happiness that this age person should have. Don't prematurely ripen yourself. When I am the age of my old woman, I have only memories." The legendary magician has at least 1,000 years of life, so you can count on the 18th flower. Christine was excited and shy, and quickly opened the subject. The only one who can be considered a good person is the one who is wise and full of confidence. Why should I insist on returning to Violet as soon as possible after this time? I don't know when I have had a sense of belonging in the room on the 3rd floor of Violetberg. Maybe Violet will be the 3rd home for the rest of my life. Mandry's Philippe family castle is the first home to be born. Abi's 1000 family tower is the 2 homes that he grew up, and the Violet Fort in Violet Island will be the one that beats the family's blood for thousands of years. The battlefield of the soul curse for a long time. From your eyes, I have seen your heart drifting into the distance. Dixela stood up and said, let's go to Violet together, see the Sema master, your sweetheart, flute. Carls, half a student. When Ziwei saw the silver-haired beauty Christine reappeared in the Violet Fort, he had just returned from the laboratory of the tower and completed the development of the Violet Austrian medicine. This potion will be almost all from 1 ring to 6 rings. The magician's favorite, and as long as the violet flower variety continues to grow and proliferate, the effect of the drug will gradually increase. This time, the silver-haired beauty is completely different from before. She is standing there quietly, and it is still the beauty and temperament of the genius. However, unlike the natural charm of the past, the intellectual and noble atmosphere is now perfect with her whole person. Meld into one. Without having to open the real magic eye, Ziwei has been able to perceive that Christine's soul level has been continuously rising. This is obviously only a miracle that can be achieved by the challenge of the Master's certificate. Congratulations, Master Christine. Ziwei was sincerely happy for the silver-haired beauty in front of him. The 21-year-old magic master had a miracle, so she would never allow her to fall in the family blood. In the sinister curse. I brought a distinguished guest, the whole Violet will be more glorious because of her arrival. Christine came forward and whispered to the ear of Ziwei, my new tutor, structure install the queen. The 7th law. Since the last trip of Wangdu Pai Li, Ziwei has seen several great existences above the legend. However, this is the first time that a strong person of this level has come to Violet Island, apparently for the Arcane Journal. Said to be a very good sign. I am very happy to meet you, Ms. Della. Ziwei noticed the middle-aged woman who was studying the interior murals and reliefs of the castle in the corner. She wore a white sweater with a deep purple scarf wrapped around her long neck and a pair of dark blue glasses. She was very tall and thin, and looked like a learned female professor. Before Christine mentioned the 7th law, Ziwei did not discover her existence either in vision or perception. Obviously, the legendary magician used a kind of unknown method to eliminate his own existence. What kind of history does this painting correspond to? Mythology. Which plane is the white-winged humanoid from above? Della asked with a cold voice. It is a virtual artistic imagination and processing, and there is no historical basis, madam. Ziwei went forward and responded politely. It is based on the books of the Church of the Glorious Lord? With a religious sacredness, but different from any known beliefs. Diza twisted and looked across the head from the beginning to the end. Return yes, I always thought that you were the kind of young man who had a deep predecessor before meeting, but I didn't expect you to have a maturity that didn't match your age. Although it is obvious that the woman in front of me cannot see that she is not an aboriginal in the world of Orient, but Ziwei cannot help but reveal a bitter smile. A true legendary magician is really a terrible pressure. I brought in 7 manuscripts of the Arcane Journal, which was issued by you, so it is up to you to decide whether or not the article will be published. Dixila handed a document to Ziwei. You have very strong ambitions. In the last glory of this dark eve, I really want to witness what you will play, and I must let me down. The rope that opened the curtain is in your hands, Ms. de jure. Ziwei responded with uneasiness. There will be rushing, this flood is irrefutable, unstoppable, and will surely sweep through all obstacles. The glory of achievement is paramount. Here, I finally saw the frivolity of young people in you. Very good. Dixila took off his glasses. Come on, Master Ziwei, don't let Christine down. Ziwei subconsciously turned his head and saw a blush on the cheeks of the silver-haired beauty. I think ladies should be able to realize the great value of the Arcane Journal. So in the upcoming Arcane Review Committee, you and the 1000 Method Tower you represent will have 5 of the 15 committee seats. The other 5 belong to the Lord of Change and the Royal Academy of Magic, and the last 5 belong to the Violet. Ziwei continued the topic. With my strength and authority, it is obviously impossible to promote the arcane. The first time in the whole world of the Orient world. Although I have full confidence in the arcane itself, but West Wayside, when I am not waiting, the time left for our magician is not much. Hey, de jure expressed her interest in the words of Ziwei in a tone. Even Christine behind him erected his ears and waited for the next insights of Ziwei. Ziwei knows that he must throw some dry goods. I have seen 2 unique existences in Pai Li, half of them belong to mortals, and half belong to gods. It is the demigod above the legendary sanctuary. Underneath, I developed a good friendship with one of them, and got some important secrets about the world of Orient from her mouth. Should it be the Lord of Music? Didila smiled and responded, you are a master of music. Ziwei shrugged, and he knew that the master of music Sophie was the only demigod who made a public appearance before the end of the original contract. Its true identity should be the title of the legendary magician, the top powerhouse in the world of the Orient world. It is no secret. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 460. At present, there are only 2 real gods in the world of Orient. One is Ms. Yinyu and the other is the Lord of Glory. 11 Wei continued, I want to solemnly explain that these 2 are not ordinary gods. The power of a true god is closely related to his ministry, but who knows the true priesthood of Ms. Silvermoon and the Lord of Glory? Isn't the moon and the light? Kristen asked inexplicably. However, Dillala is thoughtful, and the light in his eyes is getting brighter and brighter. The Lord of Glory comes from the universe outside the world of Orient. It is a great existence that can penetrate the wall of the universe to disperse his power to the world we live in. In the revelation of light, the full name of the Lord of Glory is controlled hundreds of millions of omnipotent glory of the world's glory. Even if the price is 1/10 of a discount, the glorious Lord is a great that is admirable and respectful. Ms. Yinyu is the first in the history of the Orient world. Her history is almost as long as the whole of the Orient world. The original contract signed by Ms. Yinyu and the glorious Lord can limit all of them. The possibility that the demigod is promoted to the true god. I must remind you once again that whether it is Ms. Yinyu or the glory of the Lord, it can be said to be the of order and good camp. But this world is not all gods, but a lot of powerful priests correspond to the darkness. The power, killing, fraud, bloody, tyrannical, conquering, dying, shadow. The words of Ziwei are getting heavier and heavier, and the speed of speech is slowing down. God is in some sense, and civilization itself is the enemy. Gods need faith, and the more developed human civilization, the more wise the human beings themselves, the more devout faith is harder to be born. And magic, obviously a seemingly neutral, but dependent on the power of civilization and order, without knowledge and inheritance, without society and organization, then what is the difference between magic and primitive witchcraft? In the last millennium, Magic. The rapid development of civilization can be closely related to the whole world in civilization and order. Once in the coming era of the gods, a half-god stands out and rises to the sky through the war of blood and fire. Then there are more powerful enemies on the head of our magician. Mr. Estella, Christine, would you believe in a god? Even if he can show miracles, even give you the power of God? Sci-fi's eyes cast on the two. Dixela shook his head. I don't know anything about faith. At our level, there are already half of the steps that have crossed the boundaries of mortals. How can we return to be a slave to the gods? Christine shook his head firmly. There is nothing that will allow me to deliver my faith. If it must be, it is knowledge, or truth. Yes, the magician is almost a natural atheist. What is God? What is the priesthood? How do you believe in God? How does the power of faith work? Once the age of the gods comes, the magicians are likely to think like this, but this for those gods who are about to rise to the stars, it is an unforgivable embarrassment. Unless we are willing to bow our heads, be a servant of the gods, destroy the books that record the truth, and stop the pursuit of the truth, otherwise the gods will inevitably become enemies of the magician in the future. 11 Wei said vigorously, so there is no way to retreat, you must fight, otherwise the magician has no future. What Della never thought was that she would hear such a shocking topic from a young magistel who was only 17 years old. Didura itself has a lifespan of less than 200 years, and has hardly left the Tower of the Thousand Laws. For the huge dark forces hidden in the shadows of the Orient world, she knows from the library of the Thousand Law Tower. But not too much personal contact. However, only the part she knows can undoubtedly verify each other with the words of Ziwei, and the magician will inevitably become the enemy of the gods. No, magic is the power of the Orient world. It must also be a powerful priesthood. If there is of magic, it can obviously harvest the faith of countless magicians. In this way, the magician will be polarized. There are only a handful of magicians who pursue and curious about truth and mystery. It is precisely the arcanist in Ziwei that can truly get rid of the fate of being a servant of the gods. But the first fated, as the greatest magician in human history, what is he thinking? Doing what? If Didala was suspected at the beginning, it was suspected that Turafat intended to be the of magic. However, at the meeting in Lanta, Didela was hesitant. In fact, within the magician group, there is also a disagreement, and it is not going to a goal. Ziwei continued, most of the magicians only pursue the power of magic. For them, magic is power, enough to support the extraordinary power of the family's prominent position. If there is a of magic that can give believers to simplify the spell casting and reduce the cost of casting, then these wall grasses must not hesitate to believe in this magical god. And the magician already has 7 legendary magicians, nearly 10 major magic schools, but the magicians don't even have a loose alliance, they are fighting each other, and even have many years of planning and planning. Bads, the undead king of the bones, should be the third law lord? A dark parliament designed to unite the forces in the shadows will soon be held in the undead capital. This will be a group of bandits. The club will be, each force will aim at a fat meat, and then fight for it. I got the news not long ago, the Pope of the Holy City Vatican, Pope Benton, has announced the sacred retreat and removed the most elite power into the Franconian plain. This is undoubtedly a wise decision to save. The fate of the Church of the Glorious Lord is rapidly ruined. As a result, the Holy Norman Empire, the Kingdom of France, the Kingdom of Risa, the Rhine Union, the Kingdom of Itan, and the 5 major powers of the Orient world with enough population have become the main infiltration and fighting objects of the dark forces. Before these demigods have truly harvested enough faith to seal the gods, they will not target the magicians because the magicians have powerful power. This power is in Stella, in Mr. Turafat, in the hands of Mr. Victor, in the hands of me and Christine's magic masters. Before it is the first of the gods to rise to the stars, it is the only opportunity for the development of the arcane. If you miss this fleeting opportunity, then everything will be irreparable. Ziwei ended with the last sentence. I have a long story, and what I have to do is the unveiled and creator of this brilliant era of arcane. Hey, Christine excitedly applauded, her face became blushing, excitedly said, Ziwei, I also want to be an arcanist. I will fight side by side with you, work together, leading the arrival of the arcane era. Awesome speech, Master Ziwei, Didula solemnly said, although I am a scholar who is fascinated by research and discovery, I still can smell the more and more suppressed atmosphere in the air and the upcoming war taste. As a legendary magician, I also have my own responsibility to defend the magical civilization, the radiance of the arcane civilization. About arcane, Master Ziwei, let go, I will give you the help and ability. Stand by. Let's work together for the arcane. Ziwei extended his right hand. For the arcane, Didura also extended his right hand, and 11Wei's hand was firmly held together. Christine's excited trotting came forward and put his white and smooth hands on the hands of two people, like me. From this moment on, Ziwei is no longer alone. He has a very powerful comrade, the seventh legendary magician in the world of Orient, the founder of the School of Construction, constructing the Empress Dela. Ziwei took out two arcane badges, and the unique star shape instantly caught the attention of the two. This is the badge I designed for the arcanist. The arcane masters started with a star, starting from a star to the 9 stars, above it is the arcanist. The promotion of the arcane level is tied to the arcane points, and the arcane points are determined by the Arcane Review Committee. The level of the arcane division is related to his own theoretical and practical contributions to the arcane civilization. It is completely linked to its own level of magician. 11Wei introduced, the magician who published the article on the inaugural issue of Arcane will become the first arcane master to receive the arcane badge. I felt a shock similar to the endless river. This arcade badge is related to the soul. Dixie looked straight at the arcane badge in the hands of Ziwei. Ziwei nodded. I built the Sea of the Seas environment in it, and refined the soul of the sublimation by simulating the endless river. This is really cool, so the value of the arcane badge can be very big, Christine said with emotion. Everyone's arcanes will start from a star, but you are the exception, Ziwei said to Didala, as the pioneer of the School of Architecture, the leader of countless magicians, you will automatically get the title of the 9-star Arcane Master. The Arcane Master's laurel still needs you to continue climbing to get it. When 11Wei arranged for Meryl to send a letter to Didura, he could never imagine that the 7th Law Society would come to Violet Island and clearly support the arcane system. Then the first Arcane Masters must add this Lord of the Emperor, but the title of a star Arcane Master who gave a legendary magician standing on the top of the Orient magic is a joke. Therefore, Ziwei had to make adjustments after weighing it. No, since everyone starts from scratch, why should I specialize, Dilalalan said, but I have already written a paper, and I plan to publish it on the first issue of Arcane. I should be able to earn some. What is the score? Before the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee, the arcane points will be decided by me, Ziwei said, but the standard of the arcane points is open and fair, there will be no dark spots. Didula is very welcome. Ms. Your submission, I am very looking forward to it. It was also a paper that was completed after the inspiration of the Master Ziwei Master, Dixie said without any concealment. I also pointed this out in the paper. In addition, the order of the inaugural issue of Arcane, I have also written finished. Christine looked at Ziwei's thick documents and tried to review it. He quickly grabbed the sleeves of Ziwei. Ziwei, I want to write the artificial intelligence of the promotion of the masters of the school to write a thesis I don't know can't be published on Arcane. The paper of the new magical master of the school, I am looking forward to it, Ziwei returned with a bright smile. I have been very curious about this Violet Academy. I will find Meryl to accompany me for a stroll, so I won't bother you. Dila did not drag the water, and the direct transmission of the spell disappeared. Zai Wei did not react at all, and began to directly read the papers of the magicians from the Thousand Law Tower brought by Dixela. Christine quickly returned to his lab and began to organize the language. According to the logic and format of the previous papers of Zai Wei, he began writing the papers on the thinking and discovery of the challenge of his master. What surprised Zai Wei was that these articles were obviously the result of careful selection by the emperor. The logic and language of each paper were written in the same way as their own papers, and there were obvious traces of secondary processing. These secondary processing papers are very good from subject matter to content. They both have innovative and theoretical exploration research. They can be said to be the exploration and research on the law behind the world itself and the surface of things. They can be published after minor modifications. The high-quality paper on Arcane, especially one of the Anthony Master's exploration of the history of the world of Orient through geological analysis, has enabled Zai Wei to have a more accurate recognition of the Orient world. Knowing and understanding is definitely a very valuable super paper. Zai Wei put the paper constructing the Queen de la at the end, which is obviously the main dish of today, a manuscript of a legendary magician, which can make countless magicians crazy. Its value is no less than an epic magical thing. The world outside the door, the distance between the legendary spellcaster and the legendary magician. Seeing this title, 11 Wei took a breath of cold. Ms. Didura, you really put a nuclear bomb. Since the power system comes from the original fire, it is very different from other magic schools. If Takara writes a paper on the architecture school, then the audience will not be very wide. However, this is an article about the difference between the legendary caster and the legendary magician. It is almost the most powerful mystery of the entire world of Orient, and it is also written by the seventh method, which can make all magicians, especially the legendary casters who are squatting before this last threshold, are crazy. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 461. Although the legendary magicians are also classified as legendary, they are obviously more powerful than any other legendary professional, whether it is a legendary blood knight, a legendary warlock, a legendary monk, a legendary warrior, a legendary thief, or a legendary priest. Because there are only 7 legendary magicians in the history of humanity in the whole world of Orient, they are the strongest magicians who can compete with the strong people of the sanctuary, and the most powerful force of the mortal. The sanctuary above the legend can transform the field into a holy mark, and each holy mark represents the existence of a field. Within the field, the sanctuary can be said to be completely dominant, the whole environment is cooperating and obeying him, and it is almost invincible in his own field. However, the consumption of opening the holy mark is so great that even the sanctuary can't be maintained for a long time. When they can't open the holy mark, there is no gap in the level of the legendary strong. At the level of the sanctuary, it can be said that the gap between occupations has been completely blurred. Even if the warriors may summon the elements to make the thunder, the caster can also break through the mountains, and the key is in the heart. The existence of the void inside. The void in the heart, where the real soul stops, and where the field condenses. When the rules of the void in the heart come out, it is the power of the first level of the field. If you can form a sanctification in the body after long-term tempering, you can naturally promote the sanctuary. Dillala describes how the legendary spellcaster achieved the title of the legendary magician, how the void in the heart is shaped, and what is just a taste of it. Most people still only understand it after seeing it, but the heart is longing for it. However, for the legendary magicians who only found the last step and did not find the way forward, it was simply a rain. It can be said that this outside the world, the distance between the legendary caster and the legendary magician once published, the foreseeable future, the pattern of the next legendary magician will not change in 100 years. Just this piece of paper, the pattern of the initial issue of Arcane, has suddenly risen to a higher level. Zai Wei's hand holding this paper is also a little trembling. Dixilus woman's chest is really worthy of her seventh the title of the law. After more than 2,000 years of change, human magic has evolved far beyond what has been learned from elf mentors, but the new era of change has once again come. Arcane, the new theory and guiding ideology developed from the magic, will quickly promote our understanding of the whole world and the source of power. Thanks to Sivfrost for the foundation work of the theory of arcane, I will benefit from it. Shallow. The new era will be accompanied by arcane and magic. I hope that the magicians can catch up with the trend of the times, do not stick to the old theory and system, and will eventually be thrown away by the torrent of the times. The new dawn has arrived, but may the radiance of the arcane shine even more. Dala is in the holy calendar in August 1787. The last paragraph means that the seventh Law Disa also officially joined the arcane camp, and will fight side by side with Ziwei, leading the adventurous era. In this regard, Ziwei is full of enthusiasm, but also full of fighting spirit. He is not worried that the participation of the seventh Fadijura will be overwhelming. The overall planning for the future of arcane is in his mind. Although he is still only a master of magic, there is still a 2-day gap between the legendary magician and the need to cross, but Ziwei is full of confidence, but it takes time to accumulate. The establishment of the arcane empire will not be a hasty, and Ziwei has enough time to cultivate the flower of arcane and harvest the ultimate victory fruit. No one is more long-term than his eyes. Dilaraban is a suitable arcane master who Ziwei wants to fight for, but only a few days ahead. In this way, there is no difficulty in promoting the arcane, just wait for the news from Par. Just then, above the sky in the golden seas of southwestern France, among the grey-black clouds of several kilometers high, a behemoth is flying in the clouds of lightning. It is elegant to the ultimate shine of light blue, the ray of light. It has a huge tens of meters long wings, it has bright blue eyes, full of wise light. It is the most powerful creature in the whole world of Orient, the cast of a dragon, adult blue dragon. The blue dragon's eyes pierced the thick clouds and fog, and found a beautiful island on the sea, swooping down, tearing the clouds, and the layers of golden electric light wrapped around the wings. The island overlooks the sky like a perfect oil painting, and people can't help but admire. This is not the magic of nature, but the miraculous blueprint and design of the builder. This island is the island of Violet. Elijah was resting in her new home, the Violet Magician Guild built by Ziwei, but she suddenly looked up, and the keen sense of smell had noticed that a familiar atmosphere was approaching quickly. Elijah directly rushed out of the guild, flew into the clouds, and the dragon-type transformation technique played a role in her. It instantly became a green dragon with more than 10 meters long, elegant, and childish. Whether it was Ziwei in Violetberg or Didura on campus, the first time I noticed the existence of this dragon, Ziwei also flew into the clouds. Lannister brother, the green dragon incarnation of Ilya, jumped directly to the back of the blue dragon and patted him with his own winged relatives. The blue dragon swelled a large white fog. When the white mist disappeared, he became a young man wearing a blue mage gown. His feet were 2 meters high, his skin was fair, his face was handsome, his body was burly, and Yelia also it became a human figure and embraced the arms of the youth. Lannister Hugo, the eldest son of Victor, the legendary caster of the Change School, Ziwei finally put the image of the youth in front of him and the person in the information. This Lannister is not just a change. The mage of the school, his body is more pure than the blood of Elia, and it seems that the Lord of Change Victor Hugo is really a dragon fan. Mr. Ziwei, I came with my father's reply. For Arcane, both my father and I are very recognized. Lannister has such a prominent identity and strong strength, but he himself does not proud. It seems that he is more sympathetic to his identity as a magician. Ziwei did not think that the Change Tower also sent such a high-profile messenger, which is second only to the Change Master Victor Hugo, but the Change Master is not as arrogant as the Emperor Daigola. He is not only the pioneer of the Change School, but also the leader of the entire French magician system. Victor has not left Par for 100 years. Thank you very much for your arrival, I am very honored. Ziwei went to a mage ceremony and the three returned to Violetberg. The Lord of the Emperor is also on the island. Lannister, who had just sat down from the teacup, stood up in shock. I am going to meet for myself. To know that there are only 3 legendary magicians still active in this era, this is the most shining star of all magicians. D'Ardella is visiting Violet Island and will be back soon, Ziwei said with a smile. I would like to see a reply from Victor Hugo. Opening a thick envelope, Ziwei first saw the article The Origin of Species, the Essential Exploration of the School of Change signed by Victor Hugo. 11 Wei took a deep breath. This article means a big deal. The winner of the 5 laws change, Victor Hugo, and the 7th law, the Emperor D'Ardella, chose to support their own arcane ideas. He also published the paper in person and signed it on the inaugural issue of Arcane. This is not just behind the support, it is already shirtless. With the support of the 2 legendary 5 laws and 7th laws, the promotion and distribution of Arcane will no longer have any hindrance. In the last remaining time before the end of the original contract, Ziwei finally, you can ignite the fire of the stars of the Arcane with no scruples. I also completed one of the papers, hoping to publish it in the inaugural issue of Arcane. Lannister Hugo said with a smile, I think this will be a memorable honor. Ziwei's groundbreaking arcane papers in 7 fields undoubtedly convinced the legendary caster, the most advanced 2nd generation of Orient, so Lannister did not have any arrogance when facing West. 11 Wei also informed Lannister of the structure of the Arcane Badge and the Arcane Review Committee. Lannister expressed his approval on behalf of the Lord of Change and the Royal Academy of Magical Arts of France. At this point, there is no suspense in the inaugural issue of Arcane, leaving only the final editing and printing work. This time, Ziwei adopted the most technical holographic projection technology. Each piece of paper in the original issue of Arcane is a special material added to the coated paper, which belongs to the upgraded version of the paper for the scroll, which can be inscribed on the simple. The Orient Element holographic projection technology can perfectly present the scenes, analysis, and calculations in each paper. The beginning of the Arcane issue will be published in 2 chapters, 1 chapter, and 20 papers. The 2 chapters are written by the 5th and 7th methods respectively, and the message is completed by Ziwei. Among the 21 papers, the 5th and 7th methods are completed respectively, and Ziwei completes 7 articles. There are 5 colleges and 7,000 towers. The length of each paper is not small. After using holographic projection technology, the thickness of the original issue of Arcane has reached nearly 10 centimeters. Ziwei spares no effort to upgrade the cover of the original issue of Arcane. In addition to the word Arcane, the entire written, spine and book back is composed entirely of the star map of the Orient world, forming a vast expanse. Cham Blue Star Sea. Ziwei published 1,000 original publications of Arcane, which has exhausted almost all the special materials that can be used for spell writing in his hands. It is obvious that the first issue of Arcane can only be issued for 1,000 copies. A total of 15 people published articles on the inaugural issue of Arcane, which will become the first arcane divisions of the Orient world, and Ziwei will also award their first arcane badges. However, only Vichy, Dixela, Lannister and Christine are on the Violet Island. Since the activation of the arcane badge needs to be in harmony with the soul, these authors must come to Violet. Therefore, after discussing with Dixela and Lannister, Ziwei decided to hold the first meeting of the Arcane Review Committee in Violet before the 2nd issue of Arcane, and completed the first Arcane division. The ceremony. The first issue of the Arcane, Lannister took away 300 copies, D'Ardella took away 500 copies, and the remaining 200 copies of Ziwei have recalled the head of the Violet Chamber of Commerce, which will be released by him. To the Kingdom of Aten, the Kingdom of Rennes, the Rhine Union, and some of the city's mainstream magician organizations and colleges. Whether it is Lannister on behalf of the 5th Law or the 7th Fadaya, it seems that there is no enthusiasm for fighting for power. In the Arcane Review Committee, they unanimously recommend Ziwei as the chairman of the Arcane Council, responsible for the entire Arcane. The functioning and daily work of the Council. The headquarters of the Arctic Aeons Association will also be established in Violet Island. For the Violet Castle and the Violet Academy, both Dela and Lannister will pay tribute to each other. I hope that Ziwei can build another great building that is not inferior to the Violet Castle as the Arcanes Association. Headquarters. The establishment of a new organization comes from three completely different forces. Sci-Fi thought that the quota of the members of the Arcane Review Committee and the right to responsibilities would be a long-term compromise. He was also fully prepared. I plan to be a blender between Parley and ABIs. I didn't expect the process to be so smooth. Dixela and Lannister had almost no objections to his proposal and planning. The structure of the entire organization was completely in accordance with the blueprint of Ziwei. After staying on the island for 3 days, both Lannister and Deza had to embark on their way home. My sister is still very young. According to the age of the dragon, she is still far from adult. I hope that the president of Ziwei can take care of it in life, Lannister Hugo asked Ziwei when he left. Of course, no problem, Ilya is very popular, my girlfriend and I like her very much, Ziwei responded with a hearty smile. Your girlfriend Natalia, is the daughter of Count Bonaparte and Princess Olivia, Lannister suddenly asked a strange question. Yes, she is the heir to the Bonaparte family, Ziwei nodded and confirmed. Lannister flashed a glimpse in his eyes. He raised his head and sighed softly, Olivia was only a girl I liked. My father also made a marriage to Charles VII. Unfortunately, I was engaged in it. I haven't thought that 20 years have passed, even Olivia's daughter has grown up. To be continued.